Chapter 30. Back at the North Gate, the logistics department had finished cleaning up after the battle and closed the gate again. Ouyang Shuo climbed up the arrow tower on the left, and in less than 2 minutes, the smoke rose again. This time, it was a pack of wolves. Nearly 1,000 wolves, led by the Wolf King, quietly charged out of the forest toward Shanghai Village. Wolves were level 4 beasts, and their numbers were huge. Elite wild wolves would level up to level 6, while the Wolf King would be a level 9 boss. Just like the first wave of dogs, the wolves couldn't escape the nightmares of the traps. As the saying went, even the most cunning prey couldn't escape the hunter's trap. Even with the cunning of the wolves, they suffered heavy casualties under the restraint of 4 consecutive traps. In the end, there were less than 600 wolves that made it to the village. But wolves were still wolves. These cunning animals did not split into 2 groups after arriving outside the village. Instead, they gathered together and headed straight for the West Gate. This kind of tactic caught Ouyang Shuo off guard. With the wolves' speed, it was too late to move the militia reserve team to the West Gate. Without a choice, Ouyang Shuo ordered the militia reserve team to stay where they were. He led second fire soldiers out of the North Gate, planning to circle to the wolves' side and attack the wolves from the left and right with the cavalry team in the mines. By the time Ouyang Shuo arrived at the battlefield, the remaining wolves were already climbing up the fence. From afar, he saw Lin Yi and the cavalry of 3 fires rushing over. The 2 of them led the cavalry team from the left and right, stabbing into the wolves like 2 sharp knives. This was where the advantage of the archers showed. Before the cavalry team reached the wolves, they fired 2 volleys, easily paralyzing the wolves' command system. Although the wolf pack was ferocious, they were powerless against the cavalry that was charging at them so quickly. The fragile joints were broken into 2 by the warhorse's collision. Even if they dodged the charge, the soldiers could easily kill the wolves with their javelins. After all, they were only level 4 beasts. 20 minutes later, the wolves were finally wiped out. The Wolf King was killed. The items that the Wolf King dropped gave Ouyang Shuo a small surprise. Space Stone, small after use. The storage bag space is expanded to 10 cubic meters. The initial storage space of a player's storage bag was only a tiny 1 cubic meter. If one wanted to increase the storage space, they could only use a Space Stone. Space Stones were divided into 4 types: small, medium, large, and giant. They could increase the storage capacity of a storage bag to 10 cubic meters, 100 cubic meters, 10,000 cubic meters, and 10,000 cubic meters respectively. Ouyang Shuo directly used it and expanded the storage space of his storage bag to 10 cubic meters. During this period, the regional announcements did not stop. There were constantly territories being breached and removed from China. Region announcement. Dongchuan region's Peach Blossom Village has failed to defend against the attack of the Beast Horde. China has removed it from the list. District announcement. Baiyun Village in Wooding District has failed to defend against the attack of the Beast Horde. It has been removed from China. Regional announcement. Sishui Village in Lianzhou region failed to defend against the attack of the beasts, and is now removed from China. He noticed that during this period of time, 7 villages in Lianzhou Basin alone had been destroyed, and their names were removed from China. One must know that there were less than 100 territories in the Lianzhou Basin. The mission was only halfway through, and nearly 1/10 of the territories had already been removed. The cruelty of this mandatory mission could be seen clearly. This time, the members of the Militia Reserve Team 1 were injured for the first time due to their brief contact with the wolves. Fortunately, the medical rescue team, led by Dr. Song, was on standby. The logistics department was in charge of cleaning up the battlefield. Ouyang Shuo did not stay for long. He immediately rushed back to the North Gate with the soldiers of the second fire. 5 minutes later, the smoke signal from the sentry tower rose again. The horn of war was blown again. The third wave of the Beast Horde was a group of level 5 wild boars. The elite wild boars were level 8, and the Wild Boar King was a level 10 boss. Speaking of wild boars, Shanghai Village had made a huge enemy out of them. The Wild Boar King boss, the Wild Boar King's wife, the mutated wild boar, and the piglets they gave birth to were all killed by Ouyang Shua and his men. This time, it was to avenge the previous generation's wild boar king. The new generation's wild boar king gathered nearly 3,000 wild boars within a radius of more than 200 miles to Shanghai village to seek revenge. Fortunately, the wild boars were relatively cumbersome, so the traps were the most effective against them. Unfortunately, the previous two waves of wild dogs and wolves had already destroyed most of the traps they had set up. Just like this, the traps on the 4 defense chains were destroyed, but there were still more than 2,000 wild boars left. The next wave of wild beasts did not need to enjoy the treatment of the trap chains. 400 meters away from the village, the wild boars split into 2 groups and rushed toward the west gate and north gate respectively. They were determined to turn Shanghai village into ruins. Ouyang Shua looked at the nearly 1,000 wild boars rushing toward the north gate and felt bitter. This was truly the cycle of karma. Retribution was not pleasant. Passive defense was not good. Ouyang Shua walked down the sentry tower and called Zhao Duong over. He handed the flag to him and asked him to stand on the sentry tower to command. "Captain Zhao, I'll leave the command to you. I only have one request. You must hold on until the reinforcements arrive. If the defense line is broken, you'll have to answer for it." Zhao Diwang's scalp went numb. This was simply driving a duck onto a perch. God knows, before this, he wasn't even an official militia, but now he had to command the battle. Ouyang Shua saw his difficulties, so he patted his shoulder and gently said, "Captain Zhao, don't be nervous. I believe you have the ability." Zhao Duong didn't say anything and just nodded silently. Time was of the essence. Ouyang Shua couldn't care too much about this. He led the soldiers of the second fire and rode out of the north gate. His plan was very simple. He wanted to take advantage of the cavalry's advantage and take the initiative to attack. He wanted to lure away some of the wild boars and reduce the pressure on the militia. Before the wild boars could completely surround them, Ouyang Shua led the second fire's cavalry and successfully broke out of the encirclement. Seeing that a group of humans had actually escaped right under his nose, he felt a chill run down his spine. The elite wild boar in the middle immediately split half of its wild boars and turned around to give chase. In this way, the pressure on the north's defenses was greatly reduced. Zhao Duong stood on the arrow tower and stared at the wild boars. When they were only 60 meters away from the fence, they immediately waved the flag and shouted, "Throw!" After 3 consecutive rounds of javelins, nearly 300 wild boars were instantly killed. However, there were still more than 200 wild boars that rushed to the fence. Zhao Duong also seemed to be infected by the atmosphere of the battlefield. He became hot-blooded. He rushed down the arrow tower, raised the javelin in his hand, and shouted, "Brothers, let's go." As he said that, he rushed forward and used the javelin in his hand to fight the wild boars in close combat. The members of the militia reserve were influenced by him. They roared and followed him, fighting with the wild boars through the fence. Unfortunately, the militia was at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. Moreover, the javelins in their hands were simple and crude, so their lethality was limited. In less than 5 minutes, people started to get hurt. The wild boars tried to break through the fence several times, but they were stopped by the militia. Just when Zhao Duong felt that he couldn't hold on any longer, the cavalry finally appeared in the distance. Nearly 50 cavalrymen directly shot 2 rounds at the same time and wiped out the rest of the wild boars. Following behind the cavalry was the wild boars that Ouyang Shua and the others had lured away. The cavalry rushed into the village. They quickly dismounted their horses, drew their bows and arrows, and shot at the wild boars. Seeing that the rescue team had arrived, the militia's morale was boosted and they returned to their original positions. When the wild boars arrived 60 meters away from the fence, they didn't hesitate to throw the javelins in their hands. The nearly 100 people of the militia, coupled with the nearly full cavalry, cooperated with each other. The remaining wild boars were unable to resist and were quickly shot to death. Ouyang Shua finally breathed a sigh of relief. This wave was finally more daunting than dangerous. He walked to Zhao Diwang's side, patted his shoulder, and said with a smile, "Good job, Captain Zhao. I've just heard about your heroic deeds. You're like a real man." Zhao Duan grinned. The situation was urgent at that time, so I didn't think too much. In any case, we can't let these beasts rush into our village. Well said. The fence is our last line of defense to protect the village. We must hold on and not retreat, Ouyang Shua solemnly said. He went to the center of the militia and visited the injured members. This time, more than 20 members were injured and suffered heavy losses. Another person was seriously injured, and his left hand was almost bitten off by the wild boar. Ouyang Shua ordered the medical team to carry the seriously injured back to the medical center for treatment. As for those who were lightly injured, as long as it didn't affect their throwing of the javelins, they still had to hold on to their posts after a simple bandage. He didn't forget that there was still the last wave of beasts that they needed to deal with. Sure enough, they rested for less than 10 minutes before the smoke signal of the sentry tower rose again in the distance. The last wave of beasts was also the most powerful. They were level 6 wild boars. The elite wild boars were level 10, and the wild boar king was level 12. The first 3 waves of beasts had already destroyed the traps. Even if there were some surviving traps, they didn't pose much of a threat to the wild boars. With the huge and strong body of the wild boars, one trap could only trap one wild boar at most. Therefore, when the wild boars passed through the 4 defense chains of the traps, there were still more than 900 wild boars left. Similarly, the wild boars were divided into 2 groups and attacked the west and north gates respectively. Among them, there were less than 300 wild boars on the north gate side. Although the last wave of wild boars was extremely powerful, Ouyang Shua wasn't very worried. He still hadn't used his trump card, the Fierce Fire spell. He was waiting for this last wave. Among the system announcements that kept ringing in his ears, there was still no announcement that a territory had successfully defended against the beasts. This meant that the Shanghai village's efficiency in eliminating the beasts was still very high. Ouyang Shua stood on the sentry tower and calmly watched the wild boars rush towards the fence. When the wild boars were less than 50 meters away from the fence, he lit a fire arrow. With a whoosh, the fire arrow accurately shot into the ditch filled with fierce fire oil. In an instant, a full 200-meter-long ditch was set ablaze. The wild boars that couldn't dodge in time were caught in the raging fire, wailing incessantly. When the wild boars behind saw the fire, they stopped one after another, not daring to move forward. At this moment, the javelins of the militia and the crossbows of the cavalry were like the grim reaper harvesting lives. One wave after another, they pounced on the wild boars that stopped moving forward. In less than 10 minutes, the wild boars at the north gate were completely wiped out. As for the west gate, Ouyang Shua didn't need to worry about it. One had to know that there was an even more powerful fierce fire spell set up there. Sure enough, before Ouyang Shua reached the west gate, a sweet system announcement rang in his ears. World announcement. Congratulations to the Shanghai village of the China region, under the leadership of Lord who says that has clothes, for successfully defending against the beasts and being ranked first in the world rankings. World announcement. Congratulations to the Shanghai village of the China region, under the leadership of Lord who says that has clothes, for successfully defending against the beasts and being ranked first in the world rankings. World announcement. Congratulations to the Shanghai village of the China region, under the leadership of Lord who says that has clothes, for successfully defending against the beasts and being ranked first in the world rankings. As soon as the announcement came out, the whole world was in an uproar. This time, Ouyang Shua was really famous. Chapter 31. Even Ouyang Shua himself couldn't believe that Shanghai village was the first territory in the world to successfully defend against the beast horde. The fierce fire oil had done a great job. Since this was a world mission, the rewards would only be given out after all the lords had completed the mission. Ouyang Shua used this time to go to the west gate to check on the situation there. The fierce fire circle was still burning in front of the west gate. None of the bison trapped in the circle were spared. Their corpses were all over the place. Even the wild bull king was directly shot to death by Shi Wansue's bow and arrow It was very sullen. Ouyang Shua ordered the logistics department to fill up the trenches filled with fierce fire oil and extinguish the fire. He didn't know how long he would have to wait for the fire to die out naturally. After the fire was extinguished, he walked into the fierce fire circle and went to the Bison King's corpse to see what kind of special item it dropped. He picked it up and saw that it was a bison taming technique manual. It was good stuff indeed. The livestock industry in the territory was going to have a big boom. Ouyang Shua called Lin Yi over and ordered him to lead 40 cavalry soldiers to search in the direction the bison herd came from. They had to capture as many young as possible while the bison herd was still alive and bring them back to the territory. With the cavalry's mobility, they could just gather the young and rush them back to the territory. At the same time, he called Buttface and asked him to lead the 2nd fire soldier and 30 members of the militia reserve team to go deep into the forest to look for piglets. Although there were 12 piglets in the territory, it was still far from the amount needed for large-scale breeding. Why not use this opportunity to capture as many piglets as possible and expand the wild boar breeding scale? After the two teams left, Ouyang Shua called over Zhao Duong from the construction division. Director Zhao, I have 2 tasks for your construction division. Please speak, sir. This director wasn't afraid of anything as long as it was his job. First, get people to build a large cow pen and pig pen on the west side of the village. Make sure that the young bison and piglets brought back by the cavalry have a place to stay. Second, work with the logistics department to clean up the traps. The animal carcasses in the pits will be taken care of by the logistics department. The construction department will be responsible for filling up the pits and restoring them to their original state. Remember, do not miss a single trap. Otherwise, if our own people were to fall for it in the future, it would really be a joke, Ouyang Shua said seriously. Zhao Diwang's expression turned solemn, and he firmly said, Yes, I promise to complete the mission. At this time, Shi Wansui walked over and handed him an item with a smile. It was an item dropped by the Wild Boar King boss. Ouyang Shua took it and looked at it. It turned out to be a talisman. It was a pretty good little thing. At a critical moment, it might be able to save a life. Bloodthirst Talisman. After use, the user will enter a bloodthirsty state, doubling their battle strength for half an hour. After the bloodlust effect ends, the user will be weakened for 2 days. In the following period of time, there were continuous system announcements. Otherwise, they would have to complete missions in their territories and enter the rankings. Otherwise, they would fail a mission and be completely removed from the list. World announcement. Congratulations to the Free Village in the United States, under the leadership of Lord Jack Dawson, for successfully defending against the Beast Horde attack and being ranked 2nd in the world rankings. World announcement. Congratulations to Handan Village in the China region, under the leadership of Lord Di Chun, for successfully defending against the attack of the beasts and is ranked 4th in the world rankings. World announcement. Congratulations to Vic Village in the France region, under the leadership of Lord Henry, for successfully defending against the attack of the beasts and is ranked 1st in the world rankings. In less than an hour, the top 10 of the world rankings were all revealed. Ouyang Shua checked the world rankings. The only exception was that Maple Village in the Canada region, which was ranked 10th in his previous life, was squeezed out of the top 10 because of his appearance. First place, China region, Shanghai Village. Don't Say No Clothes, 2nd place. United States region, Liberty Village, Jack Dawson, 3rd place. Russia region, St. Petersburg, Pushkin, 4th place. China region, Handan Village, Dichun, 5th place. Germany region, Rhine Village, Manstein, 6th place. Japan region, Mikasa Village. Honda Keisuke, 7th place. India region, Bangalore Village. Dillawa, 8th place. England region, Avic Castle. William, 9th place. Korea region, Ulsan Village. Park Sunki, 10th place. France region, Vic Village. Henry because of Ouyang Shua's appearance. There were 2 lords from the same country in the top 10 of the world rankings. In an instant, the China region was in limelight. At this moment, in Handan Village, near the capital, a handsome young man stared at the world rankings with a gloomy expression. He was Di Chun, one of the 6 leaders of Handan City. Beside him sat a beautiful woman. She was called Peerless Elegance, and people called her the Empress. Her real identity had always been a mystery. Other than Di Chun, no one else knew. In his previous life, someone had ranked the top 10 beauties of the China region, and Peerless Elegance was ranked second. Ranked on the list was the only female leader of the 6 leaders of Handan City, Feng Qiuhuang. Peerless Elegance was not just for show. As the number 1 strategist under Di Chun, anyone who dared to look down on her intelligence would not be in a good position. Say, who do you think his Don't Say No Clothes is? Peerless Elegance asked. Di Chun frowned and said hesitantly, I'm afraid no one knows his identity. But I have a guess about Shanghai Village. Oh, what guess? Peerless Elegance was surprised. I heard my father mention something about the village creation token. It is said that Gaia hid a gold-grade village creation token in the village creation quest to balance out the privileges of us players, Di Chun said uncertainly. After all information about the game settings was highly confidential. Outsiders could only get bits and pieces of it. You mean to say that Don't Say No Clothes obtained that gold-grade village creation token? That's not possible. If I remember correctly, he was the 7th player to establish a village in the China region. At that time, it was less than 2 hours before the game started. That means that he should be the fastest player to complete the village creation quest. To complete the quest so quickly, the completion rate shouldn't be high. Peerless Elegance was a little hesitant. Who knows? Maybe he used some kind of trick. No matter what, this time Handan Village didn't even make it into the top 3 of the world rankings. Instead, it was occupied by a player who popped out of nowhere. This is a huge blow to our reputation. I'm afraid those ambitious people who are ready to make trouble will become restless again. Peerless Elegance sneered and said flirtatiously, in the end, those guys can't even make it to the stage. Di Chun didn't say a word. He seemed to be in a difficult position, but he also seemed to agree. At this time, the China server rankings were officially released. Unsurprisingly, almost all of the popular candidates predicted on the forums were on the rankings. What made Ouyang Shua dumbfounded was that the dragon-seeking acupuncture point player, whom he had stolen the gold-grade village creation token, was actually ranked 12th on the China server rankings. Because he had accidentally entered the world rankings, he, the 12th Lord, was lucky enough to receive the reward of 10th place. A sip and a peck, it was really hard to describe clearly. First place, Dali, Shanghai Village. Don't Say No Clothes, 2nd place. Capital, Handan Village, Di Chun, 3rd place. Xianyang, Danyang Village, Chunshan Jun, 4th place. Chengdu, Swordsman Village, Feng Qingyang, 5th place. Luoyang, Luo Feng Village, Feng Qiuhuang, 6th place. Xinya, Azura Village, Military Kill Ripper, 7th place. Jianya Red Blood Village, Military Kill Ripper, 8th place. Chuanzhou, Bawang Village, Xiongba, 9th place. Chang and Luo Yi Village, Wandering Fantasy, 10th place. Capital, Naughty Stone Village, by N, 11th place. Dali, Rhino Village, by Hua, 12th place. Chuanzhou Dragon Seeking Village, Dragon Seeking Acupuncture Point description. Because 2 players from the China server have entered the world rankings, the rankings are automatically pushed back by 2 places. Of the 12 lords on the China server rankings, Ouyang Shua paid the most attention to Rhino Village, which was also from Dali. The Lord of Rhino Village was China's esports legend, Bai Hua. According to the information from his previous life, Bai Hua should be like him, a commoner player. To be able to achieve such results, it was definitely due to her strength. As the 3rd of the top 10 beauties in the China server, as well as a gaming expert, Bai Hua's appeal among the players was very strong. In the previous games, Bai Hua was not a lone ranger. 3 years ago, she had established her own gaming studio, Rhino Studio. The core members of Rhino Studio were 4 beauties. In addition to Bai Hua, there were also Violet, Red Eagle, and Green Dress. An hour later, Dali's regional rankings were finally released. From this, it could be seen how big the gap between the lords was. First place, Lianzhou Region, Shanghai Village. Don't Say You Have No Clothes, 2nd place. Kunming Region, Rhino Village, by Hua, 3rd place. Sisui Region, Liangshan Village, Stargazing Mining Area, 4th place. Liuzhou region. Floating Wind village. Lu Piapiao, 5th place. Lianzhou region. Duanren village. Bat Dao, 6th place. Tingyue region. Ancient Wind village. Qinhan Siyuan, 7th place. Lianzhou region. Mulan village. Mulan Moon, 8th place. Guilin region. Horse Armor village. Passerby, a 9th place. Dongchuan region. Evil village. Bad Guy Must Die, 10th place. Wooding region. Eminent village. Lu Xiaobu, 12th place. Lianzhou region. Tianfeng village. Dawn Wind. Waning Moon, 12th place. Lianzhou region. Tianfeng village. Lu Xiaobu description. Because 2 players from Dali entered the China region rankings, the rankings were automatically pushed back by 2 places. In Dali's regional rankings, there were 4 lords from Lianzhou Basin, which accounted for 1/3 of the rankings. Apart from Ouyang Shuo, the 3 lords of Lianzhou Basin in his previous life were all on the rankings. After all 3 rankings were released, Ouyang Shuo immediately heard a system notification. System notification. Congratulations to player not wearing for leading Shanghai Village to successfully defend against the Beast Horde and completing the mandatory Global Territory Defense mission. Calculating the mission rewards. System notification. Player not wearing has successfully entered the top 3 rankings. The world rankings will be used as the basis for calculating the mission rewards. Special reward. 3,000 achievement points, 600 gold coins, and a random hidden building. System notification. A random hidden building has been selected. Recruitment Hall. The building will be automatically generated within the territory. Please check for yourself. Oh my god, it's actually a recruitment hall. Ouyang Shuo felt as if a pie had fallen from the sky. In his opinion, even if the achievement points and gold coins were added together, it still couldn't compare to the recruitment hall. Chapter 32. The recruitment hall is located in the cultural district next to the private school. Name: Recruitment Hall. Type: Hidden building. Function: randomly recruit a special talent every month. Randomly recruit a historical talent every year. Characteristics: attraction rate of special talents increases by 20%. Territory popularity increases by 5. Description: this is a hall specially set up to recruit talents. The recruitment fee for special talents is 10 gold coins, and for historical talents is 100 gold coins. The recruitment quota cannot be accumulated and will be invalidated once it expires. As expected of a hidden building that is comparable to a divine weapon, the recruitment hall's attributes are very heaven-defying. It was like a magnet that specialized in attracting sages. It could continuously provide sages to the territory. Attraction rate of special talents increases by 20%. This is comparable to a gold-grade village creation order. With the 2 added together, the Shanghai Village's attraction rate of special talents increases by 40%. Territory popularity increases by 5%. This is an even rarer feature. So far, only the Mazu Temple, which is also a hidden building, has this feature. Even the gold-grade village creation order does not have this feature. The most obvious feature of the recruitment hall is the recruitment function. This function is loved and hated by people. They love that they can easily recruit special talents and historical talents, but they hate the high cost of recruitment. In the early days, the preciousness of gold coins was something that every lord would cry bitterly about. Even the lucky ones like Ouyang Shuo or the rich people like the 6 tyrants of Handan City had never had it easy. If it was not for the 600 gold coins reward for this world mission, Ouyang Shuo would not even think of walking into the recruitment hall. He would rather waste the opportunity to recruit talents than spend the precious gold coins on recruitment. From the outside, the recruitment center looked like an ordinary wooden building. There are no carved railings or painted rafters, and no good wood was used. At most, the workmanship is more exquisite than the other buildings in the village. He pushed open the door of the recruitment hall, and on the walls around the hall, there are 12 portraits of ancient sages. There are sages like Confucius, and idlers like the 7 sages of the bamboo forest. In the hall, there is a teleportation circle, and next to it is a wooden sign. On the sign, there is a dent in the handprint. Ouyang Shuo pressed his palm against the depression, and a series of system notifications rang out. System notice. Congratulations to player who has no clothes for opening the recruitment hall. With the opening of the recruitment hall, you will automatically obtain a chance to recruit a special talent and a chance to recruit a historical talent. Do you wish to recruit? Recruiting special talents. System notice. Congratulations to player not wearing for successfully recruiting a special talent. Advanced brewer, 10 gold automatically deducted. A white light flashed, and a middle-aged man walked out of the transmission array. He bowed towards Ouyang Shua and respectfully said, "Lowly citizen, Du Chun pays respect to Sir. Master Du, please rise." Ouyang Shua had Du Chun wait at the side, and once again pressed his palm against the depression. System notice. The recruitment center has one last chance to recruit historical talents. Do you want to recruit? Recruitment. System notice. Congratulations to player not wearing for successfully recruiting the King class historical character. Fan Zhongyan, 100 gold automatically deducted. Another white light flashed, and a middle-aged scholar walked out of the teleportation array. Sven greets the Lord. Ouyang Shua hurriedly took a step forward, raised his hands, and sincerely said, "Sir, please rise." Sir's help is like finding a treasure. He brought the two of them out of the recruitment center and conveniently checked Fan Zhongyan's attributes. Name, Fan Zhongyan King Class. Title, Wenzhongong Dynasty. Northern Song Dynasty Identity. Villager of Shanghai Village. Occupation. Civil Official Loyalty. 75 Commander. 45 Force. 30 Intelligence. 75 Politics. 80 Specialty. Awe-inspiring righteousness. Increases territory's incorruptibility by 40. Concern for the country and its people. Increases territory's efficiency by 20. Brilliant literary talent. Increases territory's humanities level by 15. Evaluation. Northern Song. Dynasty's famous thinker, politician, military strategist, and writer. He had both cultural relics and outstanding intelligence. He was born with the title of Prime Minister and was known as a virtuous person. He was happy after others and worried before others. He was a wise and virtuous man who had never been seen before in the history of the world. After returning to the Lord's mansion, Ouyang Shua called for second child and ordered him to invite the various department heads to the meeting hall, saying that there was something important to discuss. Then, he personally led Fan Zhongyan to the meeting hall for a chat. A civil official like Fan Zhongyan, who had high literary attainments and was knowledgeable about the past and present, was much better than a general like Shi Wansui when it came to conversing. Ouyang Shua felt the pressure, and he didn't have enough knowledge. He could only adhere to the principle of speaking less, making fewer mistakes, and try his best to be a qualified listener. In less than 20 minutes, all the department heads had arrived. Mu Qingxi had also come along with Chui Yingyu to join in the fun. Ouyang Shua took the opportunity to end the chat and said, "The defense of the territory has just ended, and I know that everyone is very busy. In order not to waste everyone's time, I will make a long story short." He gestured to Fan Zhongyan, who was sitting down, and said, "The person sitting next to me is Fan Zhongyan, Mr. Fan Shuan. Mr. Sven's literary and military skills are extraordinary. Let's get to know each other." Naturally, there was another round of greeting. For a scholar like Mr. Sven, the various department heads respected him very much. It must be known that, except for Gu Xiuan and Chui Yingyu, everyone else here was basically a peasant. At most, they would be like Zhao Dexian, who could only read a few words. The main reason I called everyone here is to announce the adjustment of the territory structure. I have decided to set up an administrative office, which will be responsible for all the daily affairs of the territory. Other than the Material Reserve Department, which will continue to operate independently, the Construction Department, Agriculture Department, Salt Field Department, and Household Office will all be under the jurisdiction of the Administrative Office. I hereby appoint Mr. Sven as the head of the Administrative Office, and he will be responsible for the daily affairs of the territory. At the same time, I will officially step down as the head of the Salt Field Department, and Mr. Sven will be in charge of it. When Fan Zhongyan was an official, he was responsible for supervising the storage, transportation, and distribution of Huai salt. Therefore, Ouyang Shuo was more at ease in handing over the management of the salt field department to him. After all, he was unable to leave the territory. Moreover, the northern Twilight Salt Field was located outside the territory for a long time. He had the will to manage the salt field department, but he was powerless. Fan Zhongyan immediately stood up. "Thank you for your trust, my lord. I will definitely not let you down." Ouyang Shuo accepted the apology and said, "Gu Xiuan, the clerk and head of the household office, is diligent and capable. I am specially promoted to the assistant head of the administrative office. His main responsibility is to assist the head of the administrative office in handling the daily affairs, and he will still be in charge of the household office." His arrangement was naturally because he hoped that Gu Xiuan would be able to learn from Fan Zhongyan more skills and experience in handling government affairs. The deputy director of the construction department, Zhao Duong, performed well in the defense of the territory in this time's war. He is officially promoted to the director of the construction department. Zhao Duong excitedly bowed to express his gratitude. He had finally made a name for himself as a deputy director. In the end, it was somewhat unjustifiable for him to be in charge of the construction department with the title of deputy director. The adjustment of personnel in the territory will end here. I hope that everyone will properly assist Mr. Sven and work hard. I've seen everyone's performance. I will not be stingy with rewards for your contributions. Mu Qingxi, who was sitting behind Chui Yingyu, watched as Ouyang Shuo gave orders. She moved closer to him and quietly said, "Big brother looks so handsome when he's handling government affairs." Chui Yingyu was startled and inadvertently glanced at Ouyang Shuo. She didn't know why, but her heart suddenly became chaotic and a trace of red quietly climbed up to her cheeks. In order to cover up her panic, she turned around and knocked Qing Er's head. She forced a smile and said, "Stupid girl, I brought you here to familiarize you with government affairs. You, on the other hand, let's see how naughty you are." She saw that although Qing Er was young, she was exceptionally intelligent and serious. She wanted to train Qing Er on the road of becoming a civil official, hoping that she could come to the Material Reserve Department to help her in the future. She didn't expect that this girl's mind was not here at all. Government affairs are so boring. Qing doesn't like it. I just want to be a little tailor. He. This was the true innocence of a child. No wonder she could make great progress in the field of tailoring. Chui Yingyu was speechless after hearing this. Her plan to train a civil official died in the womb. Ouyang Shuo noticed the little movements of the sisters and glanced at the little girl. She instantly turned into a well-behaved baby after being glanced at by him. She obediently sat at the back and didn't move. She even exaggeratedly covered her mouth with her small hands. A pair of big eyes looked at him innocently, smacking and smacking. He smiled helplessly and ignored her. He turned to the crowd and said, "The meeting is over. After everyone is dismissed, please finish the post-war cleaning and recovery work as soon as possible. Tomorrow morning, the population of the territory will reach its full capacity. In other words, Shanghai Village will be officially promoted to a third-level village tomorrow. After the village is promoted to a third-level village, there will be more things to do. Therefore, I need everyone to quickly deal with the things at hand. Don't leave any loose ends." Everyone bowed in acknowledgement and got up to leave. Ouyang Shuo stopped Gu Xiuan and told him to show Mr. Sheng Jiayang around the territory and introduce the basic situation of the territory to him. This was to help Mr. Sheng Jiayang integrate into the big family of Shanghai Village as soon as possible. In addition, Mr. Sheng Jiayang's accommodation should be arranged in the West Wing. Then he handed Du Chun, who had been sitting next to him, to Gu Xiuan and asked him to make arrangements. After everything was arranged, Ouyang Shuo returned to his office. Now that the territory had two historical talents, Fan Zhongyan and Shi Wansui, one of them was a scholar and the other was a warrior, he had more energy to formulate the territory's development strategy. After this territory defense mission, Shanghai Village could be said to be completely furious in front of the world. How to operate in the future to ensure that they could obtain the benefits they wanted needed careful planning. Chapter 33. At 4 in the afternoon, the team led by Lin Yi was the first to arrive. Along the way, they had driven nearly 100 young buffaloes. These calves had lost their parents and were in a panic. Wherever the cavalrymen went, they obediently followed. Outside the west gate, at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, the construction department built a row of pig pens and cow pens as fast as they could. Ouyang Shuo stood at the side with Chui and Yu next to him. Looking at the calves being put into the pen, he let out a long sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Now, our animal husbandry is going to have a big development." I thought about it. At this stage, the animal husbandry is still under the management of the reserve department. How about it? Are you confident? Chui and Yu said coquettishly, "Of course I'm confident. But, big brother, I'm afraid the other departments will have an opinion if you spoil the reserve department like this." What opinion can they have? These are the important sources of meat for the territory. Putting them under the management of the reserve department is a form of corresponding management. Big brother, you know I'm not talking about that. The reserve department is now in charge of logging, quarrying, mining, granary, fishery, and animal husbandry. It's almost the lifeline of the territory supply. But in the morning, the other departments were put under the jurisdiction of the newly established administrative office. Only the reserve department operates independently. You're afraid that this special position will make people jealous. Ouyang Shuo had naturally thought about what Chui and Yu said. There was a deeper meaning behind the arrangement. It was just that he didn't communicate with her properly, causing this stubborn sister to have a mental burden. So that's what you're worried about. I don't think it's necessary. The territory is still in the stage where all production resources are distributed by the territory. The importance of the storage and distribution of resources cannot be overemphasized. First, you're the person I trust the most, and you have the ability. Second, when the territory is privatized, the reserve department's task will come to an end. At that time, I will naturally make adjustments to the reserve department. Some of its duties are independent of the administrative office. So, it's not a good time to simply put the reserve department under the administrative office. It's not easy to put the reserve department under the administrative office, in case there's trouble when it's split in the future. By the way, did you have any harvest from the wild beast corpses in the morning? Ouyang Shuo asked with interest. Yes, a great harvest. First, in terms of meat, other than wild wolf meat, wild dog, wild boar, and bison meat were edible. On average, a wild dog could collect 15 units of meat, a wild boar could collect 60 units of meat, and a bison could collect 100 units of meat. Therefore, a total of 310,000 units of meat were collected this time. The supplies division was preparing to preserve the meat with salt before storing it. It is estimated that in the next year, the territory will not be lacking in meat and will even have a surplus. Next is the furs. This time, we've collected more than 6,500 pieces of different furs. Among them, there are 4,000 damaged furs, 1,500 normal furs, 800 exquisite furs, and 200 perfect furs. Suddenly thinking of something, and you said, "By the way, Ching asked me before, what should I do with these furs and hides?" Ouyang Shuo faintly smiled. "That's easy. Ching can deal with the delicate and perfect furs herself. As for the damaged and normal furs, we'll store them in the warehouse. When we privatize them in the future, we'll distribute them directly to the villagers. That's more like it." That girl was worried that you, as her brother, would hand over so many furs and hides to her. I reckon she'll be busy to death. Oh, besides the meat and furs, there's still some oil, horns, tendons, and other miscellaneous items. These meat, furs, and other resources were actually the hidden rewards the system gave to the lords who completed the quest. With this batch of meat, the territory's food crisis could be greatly alleviated. Of course, whether or not they could make full use of these rewards depended on their own abilities. The tendons, horns, and hides should be stored separately as strategic resources. These are all raw materials for making weapons and equipment in the future. Hearing Ingyu mention miscellaneous items, Ouyang Shuo specially reminded her. At this time, Buttface and his team returned from a rewarding journey. Ouyang Shuo walked over to take a look. There were more than 60 little pigs. When they returned to the Lord's mansion, Fan Zhongyan had already walked around the village under Gu Xiuan's guidance. He had just returned to his courtyard. Ouyang Shua said with a smile, "The village is simple and crude. Your Excellency is too modest." Sheng Jiaoyang had just walked around the village and felt a lot of emotions. Although Shanghai Village is only a second-level village, its layout is reasonable and orderly. Whether it is the livelihood of the people or the various industries, they're all orderly and have great potential. From this, it can be seen that my lord's ingenuity and strategic planning are worthy of Sven's admiration. Ouyang Shua felt a little smug in his heart after being praised by a famous scholar like Fan Zhongyan. It was as if he had finally found someone to appreciate the work he was proud of, and he immediately felt like he had found a confidant. To be honest, his method of governing the territory was not entirely his original creation. Many of these things were the results of the lords of his previous life's painstaking efforts. He was merely standing on the shoulders of giants and combining it with the village's reality. You flatter me, sir. With your help, I believe that the efficiency of Shanghai Village's administration will be even higher, Ouyang Shua said sincerely. Fan Zhongyan remained silent. In this regard, he did not need to be too modest. After saying goodbye to Fan Zhongyan, Ouyang Shua returned to his office. After reading for an hour, he went back to his bedroom and went offline. Today was the weekend, so Bing'er and Sun Xiaoya did not need to go to school. The two did not go out today and instead stayed at home. When Ouyang Shua came back from his jog, the two beauties were still sleeping. He sighed helplessly and put the breakfast he bought into the microwave. After returning to his bedroom, he turned on his optical computer and logged into the gaming forum. As expected, the entire forum was occupied by yesterday's defensive battle. The top of the forum was naturally the discussion thread about Shanghai Village reaching the top. The uproar this time was on a completely different level compared to the news about the village becoming a second-level village. Now, it wasn't just the players in the Chinese server, but players from other countries were also curious about Yu Wui's identity. Many foreign players came to the Chinese server's forum to find out more about Not Say You Have Clothes. Unfortunately, the China players themselves did not know anything about Who Has No Clothes, so they could only return empty-handed. This time, the discussion was completely one-sided. No one would think that Tian Yu Wui was simply lucky anymore. First comment, Who Has No Clothes successfully reached the top, bringing glory to the country. Congratulations, congratulations. Second comment, congratulations +1. The people below maintain formation. Third comment, congratulations +2. Who Has No Clothes trampled on the 6 hegemons of Handan. Mighty. Fourth comment, mighty +1. Hee hee, China will have a good show to watch. Fifth comment, spectator +1. The 6 hegemons of Handan were slapped in the face and are threatening to get back at them. Sixth comment, the person above, be careful with your words. I am Feng Qiuhuang. Congratulations to Who Has No Clothes successfully reaching the top. Looking forward to working with you. Seventh comment, wow, the goddess has arrived. Eighth comment, wife, come out and see the goddess. Don't hit my face. Ninth comment, the person above, you idiot, touch the goddess. 10th comment, I am Lord Chunshin. Congratulations to Who Has No Clothes successfully reaching the top. Looking forward to working with you. 11th comment, the god of fortune. Appears, all evils flee. 12th comment, Who Has No Clothes is indeed mighty. Even the 6 hegemons of Handan are so supportive. 13th comment, Who Has No Clothes? Looking for a relationship? This is my photo. 14th comment, beauty above, appraisal complete. 15th comment, damn it, another cabbage is about to be taken. Ouyang Shua was a little surprised to see Feng Qiuhuang and Lord Chunshin's messages. Looks like the 6 hegemons of Handan are not united. Those who did not make a sound probably chose to go against him. Those who voiced their support did not mean that they were sincere in working with him. To these representatives of the major powers, they have been influenced by their environment since young, and scheming against each other is a common occurrence. If Ouyang Shua wants to play mind games with them, he is no different from a lab rat. Of course, he would not be so foolish as to use his own weakness to attack the strengths of others. When faced with schemes and evil spirits, the only way is to use strength to counter them. Of course, before there is a real conflict of interest, he will not take the initiative to stir up trouble. This world mission has completely pushed him to the edge of the storm. In an environment like China, it is not a good thing for a young man to be successful and show off his abilities too much, especially at a time when his foundation is still not stable. After showing off his strength, Yishuan didn't care. What he needs to do now is to hide his abilities and focus on managing his territory. Accumulating strength is the way to victory. Another post on the forum was equally popular. The title of the post was very interesting. It was called, "Have you been eliminated today?" Ouyang Shual looked at the ID of the poster. It was called by Xiaosheng. He laughed. Bai Xiaosheng's ID is almost synonymous with China's know-it-all. Without some knowledge, one would not dare to use this ID. Otherwise, he would definitely be criticized by the players. According to Bai Xiaosheng's statistics, in this defensive battle, at least a quarter of the territories were eliminated. The territories that were lucky enough to survive mostly suffered heavy losses. Fences were breached and village buildings were destroyed. This was the norm. Some territories were left with a lonely lord's mansion. In a night, they were back to their original state. Fortunately, these damaged buildings could be rebuilt without needing to buy new blueprints. Otherwise, those lords would definitely go crazy. According to Bai Xiaosheng's information, even the villages of the 6 hegemons of Handan suffered varying degrees of damage. Like Ouyang Shuo, he was the only one whose territory was intact. The biggest loss was the sharp decline in the territory's population. In a defensive battle, if there are no reliable fortifications, casualties are inevitable. Some territories lost more than half of their population. This double loss greatly slowed down the advancement of the territory. Ouyang Shuo estimated that this time, no one will compete with him for the 3rd-level village ranking. Chapter 34. Binger and Sun Xiaoya woke up at 10 in the morning. Ouyang Shuo was helpless against these 2 lazy bums. He threw the breakfast in the microwave into the bin to recycle. He turned around and went downstairs to buy groceries to make them brunch. While eating, Sun Xiaoya looked at Ouyang Shuo and asked curiously, "Hey, brother Ouyang. Yesterday, I logged into the Earth on 1E forum that you play and saw something called the 6 Tyrants of Handan. According to the gossip, their real identities are frighteningly strong. Is it true?" Ouyang Shuo was a little surprised. He didn't expect this girl to be so curious. He said casually, "It's most likely true." "Ah, then this game is too strange. With their identities, they actually joined as a group. Is there a secret?" The girl's gossipy soul started to burn. Ouyang Shuo's heart trembled. He pretended to be calm and said, "Secret? Have you watched too many dramas? A game is a game. What secret can there be?" There must be a conspiracy. Hey, do you know something? Why do I feel that you're a little weird too? It's like you know this game very well. A woman's intuition was really scary sometimes. You're thinking too much. If you're really that curious, you can play it yourself. We'll talk about it later. I don't even know how to ask my family for such a large sum of money. Sun Xiaoya was still a little hesitant. Cough. Actually, if you don't mind, I can temporarily lend you this sum of money. Sun Xiaoya's eyes widened. She blushed and said coquettishly, "Hey, what are you saying? Tell me, are you trying to do something to me?" Ouyang Shuo also knew that his words were a little abrupt and could easily cause a girl to misunderstand. He could only mumble, "What? What do you want? You don't have a chest or a butt." He was obviously lying. Sun Xiaoya looked at her sizable chest and was so angry that her face turned red. She snorted, "Pervert." She then ignored Ouyang Shuo and buried her head at her food. Binger was a smart girl. She sat at the side and watched the show with interest. At this time, she turned her head and scratched Ouyang Shuo's little face. Then she giggled and said, "Big brother is shy." Ouyang Shuo knocked the little girl's head. "Eat your meal properly." After dinner, the 3 of them curled up on the sofa in the living room and watched a popular TV series. No one brought up the topic at the dining table again. Ouyang Shuo didn't force it. Let nature take its course. When he logged on again, the territory was quiet. Ouyang Shua arrived at the office. As soon as he sat down, Gu Xiuan walked in. Lord, this subordinate has something to report. Oh, what is it? Ouyang Shua asked curiously. Logically speaking, since the establishment of the administrative office, other than important matters, he should report to Fan Zhongyan. It's like this. The number of refugees spawned in the territory today is a little abnormal. Instead of the previous 15 people, there were now 52 people. The territory's population had suddenly exceeded the upper limit of 500 people. I found it very strange, so I came to report it to you, Gu Xiuan explained. Ouyang Shua suddenly understood. So that's how it is. The design of the game was very realistic. Yesterday's territorial defense battle resulted in the removal of almost a quarter of the territories. These survivors who were removed from the territories were once again stranded in the wilderness. In a single night, the number of refugees in the wilderness increased exponentially. In order to reasonably deal with these refugees, the system arranged for such a large number of refugees to spawn. The number of refugees spawned was related to the territory's popularity. Shanghai Village had the Mazu Temple and the Recruitment Hall, two hidden buildings that increased the territory's popularity, so it had a huge advantage. After sorting out the cause and effect, Ouyang Shua said calmly, I already expected this to happen. The reason why there was a large number of refugees was because of the territorial defense battle yesterday. Don't be too surprised. I estimate that in a few days, everything will return to normal. Then, now that the territory is full, do you want to level up the village? Of course. Let's go to the meeting hall now. Ouyang Shua walked into the meeting hall and muttered in his heart, level up the territory. A white light flashed, and in the middle of the meeting hall, a golden stone tablet slowly rose from the ground. He pressed his right hand on the front of the stone tablet, and the system notification sounded. System notification, checking the leveling up conditions of Shanghai Village. Condition 1. The population has reached the upper limit of 500 people. Requirements met. Condition 2. All the basic buildings have been completed. Requirements met. Condition 3. The feudal lord's title is at least a first-grade baron. Requirements met. System notification. Congratulations to player who says nothing for establishing Shanghai Village. All the leveling conditions have been met. Do you want to level up? Level up. The golden light on the stone tablet soared into the sky again and exploded in the air, turning into a golden halo that spread in all directions. The halo continued to spread to the new edge of the territory and disappeared once again. System notification. Congratulations to player who says nothing for becoming the first feudal lord in the China server to level up to a level 3 village. Achievement points awarded. System notification. Congratulations to player who says nothing for becoming the first feudal lord in the China server to level up to a level 3 village. Achievement points awarded. System notification. Congratulations to player who says nothing for becoming the first feudal lord in the China server to level up to a level 3 village. Achievement points awarded. This time, the players were not surprised by the system notification. Compared to the miracle Shanghai Village had created, the leveling up to a level 3 village was nothing. System notification. Congratulations to player who says nothing for becoming a level 3 village. The Lord's Mansion has been automatically leveled up. In addition, 3 basic buildings have been randomly selected. The player may choose one of them. System notification. 3 buildings have been randomly selected. They are the Weaponry Workshop, the Beginner Pottery Factory, and the Brewery. Please choose. Choose the Brewery. System notification. The building is being automatically generated. Please check for yourself. A white light flashed, and the golden stone tablet slowly sank into the ground again. Territory, Shanghai Village, Level 3 Village. Lord, who says nothing, First Class Viscount. Title, None Popular Support. 85 Public Security. 80 Territory Population. 540/1000 Refugee Spawn Rate. 10 1 plus 50 equals 15 refugees per day. Territory Area. 100 square kilometers. Territory Special Characteristics. Refugee attraction rate increased by 50. Special talent attraction rate increased by 20. Crop production increased by 50. Production type resident skill proficiency increased by 20. Army soldier level increased by 20. Territory talent breakthrough success rate increased by 10. Territory capital: 490 gold coins, 96 silver coins, 25 copper coins. Territory resources: 1,100 grain units, 520 wood units, 900 stone units, 500 iron or units. Territory army. Crossbow cavalry: 50 people. Territory industry: Northern Twilight Salt Field, 500 acres. Politics index: 35 out of 100. Determines administrative efficiency. Relates to popular support. Economy index: 15 out of 100. Determines trade prosperity. Relates to tax revenue. Culture index: 20 out of 100. Determines education level. Relates to the quality of the residents. Military index: 30 out of 100. Determines military strength. Relates to stable relationships. Basic buildings: village lord's mansion, beginner market, simple fence, village canteen, village toilet, wooden residential courtyard. 25. Intermediate blacksmith shop, beginner grocery store, beginner lumberyard, beginner quarry, simple farmland. 2,000 acres. Beginner barracks, pigsty, cowshed, carpentry workshop, village ancestral hall, advanced medical center, village. Private school, advanced dojo, village granary, advanced tailor shop, elementary mining field, simple arrow tower. 8. Stone sentry tower. 3. Stables. 2. Special buildings: ferry, pier, beginner shipyard, hidden buildings, Mazu temple, sealed, recruitment hall. List of basic buildings: frowny face village temple. A place of faith for the villagers, increases the satisfaction of the residents. Construction requirement: blueprint of the village temple, 400 units of wood, 350 units of stone. Construction time: 2 days. Description: completed. Weapon workshop: a comprehensive weapon and equipment workshop that can forge ordinary weapons and armor. Construction requirement: advanced blacksmith, blueprint of the weapon workshop, 400 units of wood, 200 units of stone. Construction time: 2 days. Beginner pottery factory: can make simple daily pottery products. Construction requirement: beginner pottery master, blueprint of the pottery factory, 200 units of wood, 500 units of stone. Construction time: 2 days. Mill: a place to grind grain. Construction requirement: 150 units of wood, 100 units of stone. Construction time: 1 day. Mulberry garden: grows mulberry trees. Construction requirement: mulberry tree saplings, 400 units of wood, 100 units of stone. Construction time: 2 days. Wine workshop: uses grain to brew all kinds of alcohol. Construction requirement: beginner winemaker, blueprint of the wine workshop, 400 units of wood, 200 units of stone. Construction time: 2 days. Description: this building has been randomly generated. Stone Sentry Tower: a beginner military facility that has a strong defense and detection ability. Construction requirement: 20 units of wood, 200 units of stone. Construction time: 1 day. Description: completed. Stable: a place to raise horses, also known as a stable. Construction requirement: stable blueprint, 200 units of wood, 50 units of stone. Construction time: 1 day. Description: completed. Among the basic buildings of a level 3 village, only the mulberry garden was more troublesome. It required mulberry tree saplings that could not be bought from the market. They could only find wild mulberry trees in the wild and transplant them. The other buildings did not pose much of a challenge to Shanghai Village. It seemed that it would be easy to upgrade to a level 1 town. Of course, it was not that simple. Yangshuan knew that upgrading from a village to a town was a hurdle in the territory. Other than the 3 basic requirements, there was a new requirement, which was that the political, economic, cultural, and military indicators had to be at least 30 points. Otherwise, the territory could not be upgraded. Chapter 35. Ouyang Shuo told Gu Xiuwen to gather all the officials in the meeting room after checking the properties of the village. This time, he was planning to hold a meeting to expand the territory. Other than the officers and their deputies, the 5 squad leaders of the cavalry unit, and all the skilled people in the territory would also attend the meeting. After Gu Xiuan left, Ouyang Shuo went to the administrative office. Many of his ideas needed to be implemented through the administrative office. Thus, he planned to have a simple discussion with Fan Zhongyan before starting the meeting. The two had a sincere and effective discussion on military reform and privatization. Ouyang Shuo couldn't help but admire Mr. Sven's experience in handling government affairs. Many of the details of these decisions were improved and perfected under his guidance. Half an hour later, Ouyang Shuo sat in the middle of the new meeting room and started the first meeting since the territory was upgraded to a level 3 village. More challenges await us after the territory is upgraded. We need to ensure the territory's safe and orderly expansion, so our mission is to expand the army. In yesterday's defensive battle, the cavalry had played the role of a cornerstone. Thus, I've decided to expand the cavalry unit to a full platoon of 100 men. The platoon leader and 1st Cavalry Unit leader will be General Shi. The 3rd Fire leader, Lin Yi, has been promoted to captain of the 2nd Cavalry Team for his outstanding performance in yesterday's defense battle. Lin Yi stood up immediately and bowed. "Thank you for the promotion, sir. I won't let you down." Ouyang Shuo nodded. The 1st Cavalry Unit is made up of active members of the Cavalry Unit. The 2nd Cavalry Unit needs to be re-recruited. General Shi and Squad Leader Lin will be in charge of the recruitment. My suggestion is that the new recruits should be selected from a militia reserves that performed well in the territory defense battle. According to the new military structure, the squad leaders will be adjusted. The 4th Squad Leader, Zhao Sihu, will be transferred to the 2nd Cavalry Unit and will be the 1st Squad Leader. The 2nd Squad Leader, Sangu, will be relieved of his duty and will be assigned to someone else. The 5th Squad Leader, Li Mingliang, will be promoted to the 2nd Squad Leader. Ouyang Shuo said to Shi Wansui. The 7 vacant squad leaders in the platoon will be directly appointed by General Shi and reported to me. Squad Leader Lin will have the right to recommend the squad leaders of the 2nd Cavalry Unit. Shi Wansui nodded, indicating that he understood. In view of the further expansion of the territory, the external environment will become more complicated. In order not to be completely blind, I believe that it is necessary to establish a specialized intelligence and reconnaissance unit. Therefore, I've decided to establish the Military Intelligence Department and appoint Buttface, the former squad leader of the 2nd Squad, as the Director General. A moment ago, Buttface was still perturbed. He didn't know if the Lord dismissed him from his position because he had a bad opinion of him. Now that he heard the new appointment, he heaved a sigh of relief. "Thank you for your trust, my lord. I will not let you down." The Intelligence Division is set to have 20 people, consisting of former 2nd Fire members and new recruits. The Intelligence Division operates independently under the dual leadership of me and the squadron. These were the adjustments made to the army. Do you have any questions? Shi Wansui stood up and said straightforwardly, "My lord, I have something to say. This general is naturally in favor of expanding the army. But the problem was, according to what the Lord had just said, the number of soldiers in the army would reach more than 120. The current barracks simply could not accommodate so many people. Also, there are only 53 slots left for the beginner commander's tally. It won't be able to satisfy everyone's needs." Ouyang Shuo smiled calmly. General's concerns are very reasonable. In order to solve these two problems, I'm preparing to upgrade the barracks to a mid-level barracks. Shi Wansui laughed. "That's great. This general has no more questions." When it came to military issues, other than Shi Wansui, the others were tactful enough not to express any opinions. All right, the military reform discussion ends here. The next matter to be discussed is the core of this meeting. Since the territory has just been upgraded, I'm preparing to implement privatization of the territory. Regarding this issue, I would like to invite Mr. Sven to make an introduction to everyone. Regarding the privatization, Ouyang Shuo had already communicated with Fan Zhongyan. This time, he had intentionally arranged for Fan Zhongyan to make an introduction so that he could officially push him to the forefront and let the core personnel of the territory slowly accept his leadership. Obviously, Fan Zhongyan understood Ouyang Shua's intentions. He got up nimbly and bowed to Ouyang Shua. He said slowly, "My lord has entrusted me to introduce the main contents of the privatization of the territory this time. After yesterday's defensive battle, the territory has sufficient resources and funds. It already has the initial material conditions to privatize the territory. Therefore, in order to increase production efficiency, activate the territory's economy, and more importantly, respond to the expectations of the villagers, my lord has decided to officially start the process of privatizing the territory. In one sentence, it's to end the current system of eating from the same big pot and change to the system of distribution according to work. We will adhere to the principle of more work, more pay, less pay, and no work without work. To be more specific, the territory will no longer be responsible for the villagers' food supply. Correspondingly, the territory will pay the villagers a reasonable remuneration for their labor or income. At the same time, shops, residential courtyards, farmlands, fishing boats, and other general means of production will all be open to the villagers for sale or rent. Of course, strategic resources such as lumberyards, quarries, mines, and salt fields will still be directly controlled by the territory. In order to ensure the villagers' basic livelihood and help everyone smoothly complete the transition from eating from the same big pot to being self-sufficient. At the same time, as a reward for the villagers' labor during this period, my lord has prepared a basic welfare package for every villager. The basic welfare includes 100 units of food coupons, 20 units of meat coupons, a piece of fur, a set of ordinary linen clothes, and a 20 silver voucher. The entire process of privatization will be realized through the establishment of an official bank. The bank will provide low-interest loans to all villagers who meet the requirements. The specific details of the loan will have to wait until the bank is officially established, and the manager of the bank will be in charge of setting it. As soon as Fan Zhongyan finished speaking, it caused a commotion below. Everyone was whispering to each other, enthusiastically discussing the territory's generosity this time. The newly appointed captain of the 2nd Cavalry Squadron, Lin Yi, smiled at his big brother, Lin Yu. "Big brother, you could buy the dojo this time and run it yourself." Lin Yu frowned. "Don't mess around, I don't have that much money." "Haha. Big brother, you're thinking too much. My lord has thought about everything. How could he not think about everyone's situation? Didn't you hear Mr. Shang Jiaoyang say that he wants to set up a bank and provide low-interest loans?" Lin Yu is evidently moved as well, hesitating. "We still don't know what the conditions are for getting a loan. I'm afraid we won't be able to meet them." "I say, big brother, you really can't see the situation clearly. Think about it. If you can't even get a loan with your conditions as a high-level warrior, then most of the people in the territory won't be able to meet the requirements. My lord won't let a good privatization turn into a bad ending. How could Mr. Lin let a good privatization go wrong?" Lin Yi had interacted with Ouyang Shua a couple of times and understood him better than Lin Yu. Lin Yu nodded and didn't say anything. After the discussion died down, Ouyang Shua said, "Just now, Mr. Shang Jiaoyang told everyone about the privatization. To achieve the goal of privatization, we need to do at least 6 things. First, we need to set up a bank. Second, we need to determine the price or rent of the houses, shops, and other assets. Third, we need to set up a series of grain stores, meat stores, cloth stores, and other types of shops to ensure that the villagers can easily buy their daily necessities. Fourth, we need to set up the salary and price levels to pay the workers. Fifth, someone needs to be in charge of basic welfare. Sixth, we need to set up a tax system. We'll discuss these 6 things one by one. First, we'll talk about the bank. What do you guys think about the name of the bank?" "The Bank of Shanghai, what do you think?" Zhao Hadishin asked. "Too casual, no good. Hee, I think it's better to call it Wanong Bank. It's more impressive." This was Zheng Shanpao's opinion. Stealing other people's names is even worse. The territory is in the Lianzhou Basin. Let's call it Lianzhou Bank. What do you think?" Gu Shouwen said confidently. "Too narrow, no good." Ouyang Shua shook his head. He wasn't satisfied with these names. At this moment, Chui Ingyu said, I think we can call it the Bank of the Four Seas. It's similar to our Shanghai village, and it also means to take in money from all over the world. Ouyang Shua's eyes lit up. The Bank of the Four Seas was simple and low profile, but it was also ambitious. He was satisfied and smiled. I think it's not bad. What do you guys think? Not bad, not bad. This time, everyone was in agreement. And so, Ouyang Shua made the decision. All right, it's decided then. We'll call it the Bank of the Four Seas. I'm going to inject 200 gold into the bank's current funds, and you will be in charge of the bank. Everyone could see the importance of the Bank of the Four Seas. Not only was it the core of this privatization, but it would also play the role of the territory's treasury in the future. Such an important position could only be held by someone who was extremely trusted by the Lord. Therefore, this time, everyone tactfully remained silent. However, the way he looked at Cui Yingyu was filled with deep meaning. Only the people involved could understand the meaning behind it. Cui Yingyu was naturally an understanding person. She was very grateful for Ouyang Shua's trust. She was also tempted by the position of the Bank of the Four Seas manager. However, her current position as the director of the Resource Reserve Division was already enough to make people jealous. If she took over the position of the Bank of the Four Seas, she would undoubtedly attract even more jealousy. Big brother, I'm afraid that my energy is limited and I won't be able to handle it. Cui Yingyu rejected him tactfully. Ouyang Shua was already prepared for Cui Yingyu's reaction. Don't worry, I still have follow-up plans. I announce that Cui Yingyu will be relieved of her position as the director of the Resource Reserve Division. Deputy Director Zhao Yufang will temporarily be in charge of the Resource Reserve Division. At the same time, Du Xiaolan will be promoted to the Assistant Director of the Resource Reserve Division. She will assist Zhao Yufang in handling the affairs of the Resource Reserve Division. Zhao Yufang was still lacking in both experience and ability. Therefore, Ouyang Shua didn't directly promote him to the director position. As for Du Xiaolan, she was one of Cui Yingyu's two apprentices. Ouyang Shua had been observing her as a reserve talent. Now that there was a chance, he boldly promoted her to an important position to gain experience. Everyone couldn't understand such a personnel arrangement. After all, no matter how they looked at it, the Resource Reserve Division was more important than the Bank of the Four Seas. Chapter 36. Ouyang Shua didn't want to explain everyone's doubts. After the privatization, the territory's finances will have to be independent. Therefore, I have decided to establish a financial secretary to be in charge of the territory's finances and taxes. The financial secretary will operate independently, and the Bank of the Four Seas will be under his jurisdiction. The financial secretary will also be Cui Yingyu. Everyone suddenly understood. So this was the foreshadowing. The financial secretary and the head of the Bank of the Four Seas. That was a true god of wealth. The importance of this position was comparable to the head of the administration. Cui Yingyu couldn't help but be excited. Yesterday's conversation with Ouyang Shua was still vivid in her mind. She didn't expect that in just one day, she would be relieved of the responsibility of the Supplies Reserve Department and be in charge of the more important financial secretary. She slowly got up and said in a crisp voice, "I will not let you down." Ouyang Shua nodded. After the establishment of the financial secretary, the first task is to establish an effective tax system. Here, I will first set a general tone for everyone to discuss. The specific implementation rules and the Bank of the Four Seas loan rules will need to be formulated by the financial secretary. Cui Yingyu nodded again, indicating that she understood. Simply put, taxes can be divided into agricultural tax and industrial tax. Agricultural tax is relatively simple. The tax rate is set at one tax of 30. Industrial tax is subdivided into customs duty and business tax. The customs duty can only be levied after the territory has expanded the establishment of checkpoints and the trade with the outside world. Therefore, the main focus is on business tax. To encourage the development of handicrafts and commerce, the tax rate is also set at one tax of 30. Tax is an important source of revenue for the territory in the future, so the tax rate must be stable. As for the various tax rates, everyone can speak freely if they have any opinions. Fan Zhongyin stood up and said calmly, "The Lord is generous and loves the people like his own children. The set tax rate is already the lowest in history. The only thing Sven is worried about is whether such a low tax rate can sustain the territory's daily and military expenses." "Sir, don't worry. One tax of 30 is beneficial to the people and reduce their burden. 2. A low level of tax rate is more conducive to the rapid development of the territory's economy. As long as we make the cake bigger, even a small portion will still be considerable. On the contrary, a small piece of cake, even if we take half, will still be negligible. More importantly, the territory has another source of income, and that is the industries that are not privatized this time. These industries belonged to the territory, and the profits they generated would all be handed over to the financial sector. Thus, Mr. does not need to worry about the territory's finances at all," Ouyang Shuo replied. Hearing that Darren was going to hand over the profits from the salt works and other industries to the financial sector, Fan Zhongyin relaxed. With his character of worrying about the country and the people, a low level of taxation was exactly what he wanted. What he was worried about was that his lordship would assign these properties to the lord himself. In that case, if the territory really lacked money, they would still have to take it from the hands of the commoners. This was the limitation of historical figures. Even with Fan Zhongyin's intelligence, he wouldn't understand that the strength of a territory was equivalent to the strength of a player. As such, a player lord like Ouyang Shuo didn't care if he had his own treasury. After Fan Zhongyin finished asking, Zhao Dexin stood up and said, "Reporting to my lord, there is something this subordinate does not understand. For farmers, do they have to pay farm rent at the same time as agricultural tax?" Director Zhao worries too much. The territory would provide every farmer with free farmland to cultivate. The farmland would belong to the territory, while the right to use and profit from the farmland would belong to the farmers themselves. In order to guarantee the interests of the farmers, they did not allow the sale of land, let alone land acquisition. Correspondingly, the territory also does not allow farmers to privately cultivate farmland. All farmland cultivation can only be handled by the Department of Agriculture. Ouyang Shuo gave a simple explanation and continued, "As for the division of farmland, as well as the number of mu of farmland that each farmer can obtain, that would be handled by the Department of Agriculture." Zhao Daxian nodded, indicating that he understood. Hearing Ouyang Shuo's arrangements for the farmers, the newly appointed Zhao Yufeng couldn't sit still and immediately stood up. "My lord, this subordinate would also like to know, how will the fishermen and herdsmen be taxed?" Director Zhao's question is very good. First, answer the question about the fishermen. Let's put it this way. There are two main ways to deal with the fish caught by the fishermen. One is to sell them directly at the market. This way, only the stall tax is collected. In order to ensure that the tax is collected smoothly and to prevent tax evasion, the fishermen must sell their fish at fixed stalls and are not allowed to set up stalls privately. The other way is to sell directly to the Material Reserve Department and collect the tax in accordance with the business tax. As for small transactions, the territory does not collect any taxes. The tax on herdsmen is similar to that on fishermen. The difference is that wild cattle are restricted livestock and cannot be privately slaughtered and sold. They can only be purchased by the Material Reserve Department. As for the pastures directly controlled by the territory, they are not within the scope of tax collection. Ouyang Shuo knew that there were still many loopholes in this kind of regulation. Some of the loopholes for tax evasion have not been plugged yet. For example, some herdsmen who think they are smart may want to attach their livestock to the territory's pastures to avoid the tax. But now that the financial department is newly established and the personnel are not complete, it is not advisable to carry out too complicated operations. Otherwise, it will be self-defeating. When Zhao Yufeng finished asking, Mu Qingxi stood up and giggled. "Big brother, Qing also has a question to ask. If Qing buys the tailor's shop, then do we still have to continue the task of sewing a set of clothes for each villager? If we continue, who should Qing ask for the payment?" Qing's question is also very good. The work of sewing clothes, naturally, needs to continue. As for the payment method, There are two choices. One is to continue to provide the raw materials for the cloth, and the tailor's shop will only be responsible for the processing. The territory will pay the tailor's shop a certain processing fee. The other is for the tailor's shop to purchase the cloth itself, and the territory will place an order with the tailor's shop to purchase the clothes according to the market price. He continued, this kind of market-oriented cooperation is suitable for all kinds of privatized shop industries. Of course, after privatization, such prohibited items as arrows and leather armors can no longer be manufactured at will. They can only be produced by the weapons workshops directly controlled by the territory. The discussion about taxes lasted for nearly an hour and a half. During this period, the representatives of various industries asked questions about their respective fields. Ouyang Shuo answered these questions one by one. Cui Yingyu, who was sitting at the side, felt a lot of pressure. Putting herself in his shoes, she didn't know how to answer many of the questions. At this time, she could only be an obedient child and record Ouyang Shuo's answers one by one. After she finished preparing, she would organize and polish these answers and write them into the financial department's working guidelines. Otherwise, she really didn't know how to carry out her work. After solving the problems of the bank and taxes, the remaining four matters were much simpler. Ouyang Shuo also took a rare moment of laziness and directly said, as for setting the wage level and the price level, let the administrative office be fully responsible for it. After formulating a detailed plan, just submit it to me for review. If the price is too low and a family of 3 can afford to buy it, then there will be a shortage of housing in the territory. Speaking of the small residents, I also thought of a problem. After the privatization, the villagers' requirements for living conditions will be greatly increased. Therefore, the construction department must adapt to the law of the market and flexibly adjust the size and number of the small residences. More small residences suitable for one family will be built. Zhao Duang immediately got up and said, "Understood." The pricing of the residences and shops, as well as the follow-up sales, will be handed over to the administrative office. The funds will be turned into the territory's revenue and deposited into the Bank of the Four Seas. At this point, the discussion about the privatization of the territory came to an end. Next, there was still a lot of specific work to be done by the various departments, and it couldn't be done in one go. Chapter 37. After inviting Fan Zhongyan and Cui Yingyu to his office, Ouyang Shuo asked, "What do you think the territory lacks the most now?" Fan Zhongyan pondered for a while. "I think we lack talent at the grassroots level. If we want to maintain the effective operation of the various departments, we need a large number of grassroots clerks besides appointing the chief officials." Ouyang Shuo nodded approvingly, then looked at Yingyu, wanting to hear her thoughts. Cui Yingyu thought for a while. "I agree with Mr. Sven. Also, besides talent at the grassroots level, I think we lack professionals who understand taxation and finance. To be honest, even I, as the chief official, am half a layman when it comes to the newly established finance department." Both of your questions hit the nail on the head. To sum it up, our bureaucratic system is still very weak, like a bare old tree with only branches and no leaves. At the village stage, the affairs of the territory are simple, and the chief officials can still rely on their own abilities to maintain the operation of the department. But at the township stage, the shortage of talent will make us feel very strained. Nurturing talent is a long process. It cannot be done in one go. Therefore, from now on, it is very necessary for us to start formulating a talent development strategy for the territory. The adult literacy class that I started in the private school was an attempt to achieve this goal. Ouyang Shuo knew that for the 6 tyrants of Handan City, the problem of talent is not that serious. They are like the aristocratic families of the 3 Kingdoms period. They have a very strong talent pool, whether it is the direct descendants of the family or the interest groups around them. As long as the loyal players are assigned to their respective positions, they can quickly establish an effective bureaucratic system. It is almost impossible for an individual player to go against them. Even someone like Ouyang Shuo, who has been reborn, has to take things one step at a time to have a chance of winning. Fan Zhongyan nodded. "You're right, Lord. To nurture talent, we need to run a good basic education and implement the imperial examination system. It is still too early to do the latter, so the main thing now is to run a good basic education. There is only one private school in the territory, and it only provides elementary education, which is far from meeting the needs. That's right, my idea is to set up a comprehensive school in the territory. The school will set up beginner classes, intermediate classes, and advanced classes. The beginner class is the adult literacy class, which focuses on literacy. The intermediate class was dedicated to nurturing the two previously mentioned basic administrative talents and basic professional talents. And the targets of the advanced class are the officers in charge of the various departments. Fan Zhongyan clapped and cheered wonderful. According to my lord's idea, we can quickly cultivate talents and also form a talent cultivation echelon. I agree with it very much. Cui Yingyu said doubtfully. Big Brother's idea is excellent. But where are we going to find such a powerful teacher? Old Master Fan is the only one in the territory right now, right? Ouyang Shua smiled mysteriously. Far away on the horizon, but close at hand, Cui Yingyu widened her eyes and said in disbelief, Big Brother, the teachers you're referring to can't be the three of us, right? Why not? Pomelo, you can start an advanced mathematics class. Mr. Sheng Jiaoyang can start an advanced political science class. I can also start a legal literacy class, Ouyang said calmly. Yingyu sighed, expressing the immense pressure. Fan Zhongyan, on the other hand, was very calm. He had once held the chair of Yingtian Academy. Imparting knowledge was a walk in the park for him. I've also thought of the name of the school. It will be called Lianzhou School. Although it has just started, I hope that in the future, Lianzhou School will become the cradle of the territory's civil officials. Mr. Sheng Jiaoyang will be the dean. Fan Zhongyan stood up and saluted. Sheng Jiaoyang dare not refuse the Lord's order. But I have a request. I hope that my lord can be the honorary dean to show the orthodoxy. Ouyang Shua smiled bitterly. Okay, I promise you. The administrative office will be responsible for the preparatory work of the school, and the financial department will cooperate. The three of them discussed in detail for a while and then left. Ouyang Shua prepared to go to the market. This time he had enough funds. Not only did he want to buy all kinds of architectural blueprints, but he also wanted to see if he could find anything good. He spent 10 gold coins to buy a pottery factory blueprint, the only thing that was missing in the third-level village. Then, he prepared to buy a mid-level military camp blueprint and a mid-level shipyard blueprint. These types of buildings required blueprints to upgrade. The price of the blueprints would increase by 10 times with each upgrade. Therefore, a mid-level military camp blueprint would cost 20 gold coins, and a mid-level shipyard blueprint would cost 50 gold coins. After that, there was a grain shop, a butcher shop, and a cloth shop, which are the basic buildings of a first-level village. Each of them would cost 20 gold coins. In addition, there was a bank that was the basic building of a second-level village, priced at 50 gold coins. Finally, there was the school blueprint. The school or academy was the basic building of a third-level county, priced at 1,000 gold coins. Naturally, he couldn't afford it. Therefore, he was prepared to change his mind and buy a blueprint of a first-level village's basic building school, priced at 20 gold coins. After a round of shopping, he spent 21 gold coins on the blueprint alone. Currently, the territory's funds were only 49 gold coins. In addition to setting aside 200 gold coin for the Bank of the Four Seas, he also had to set aside money for the militias and cavalry's profession change fees. Ouyang Shua sighed. As long as he came to the market, he would always feel that he didn't have enough money. Fortunately, in another 10 days or so, the salt of the Northern Twilight Saltworks for the first month could be sold. At that time, he could make a profit of 400 to 500 gold coins. This was because the number of salt workers needed in the salt works was too high. On average, 2 mu of salt field needed 1 salt worker. Therefore, Ouyang Shua didn't plan to build the third phase of the salt works and maintain the scale of 500 mu. Ouyang Shua clicked on the item manufacturing manual and found the wooden ox manufacturing manual, priced at 20 gold coins. The wooden ox in the game was just an upgraded version of a wooden wheelbarrow. It wasn't as magical as described in the romance of the Three Kingdoms. Although the effects weren't as exaggerated, the wooden ox was still a practical means of transportation. And you had previously mentioned to Ouyang Shua that as the demand for wood and other resources increased, transportation became a big problem. It was very labor-intensive to transport hundreds or thousands of units of wood, stone, and iron or from the mining area to the village or even the shipyard. If they had the wooden oxen, then all transportation wouldn't be a problem. Moreover, when the Northern Twilight Salt Works harvested the salt, transporting it from the port to the primary market would be a big project. Ouyang Shua spent 20 gold coins to buy the wooden oxen crafting technique manual. He also took a look at the wooden oxen's attributes. Name, wooden ox consumption, 20 units of wood load, 200 kilograms itinerary, 10 kilometers per day, 15 kilometers in a group evaluation. The wooden ox is an exquisite means of transportation that can overcome complicated terrain such as mountain roads and steep slopes. Finally, Ouyang Shua flipped to the other items on the special items trading platform. After browsing for more than 10 minutes, he found a special item that he liked. It was a token with very simple attributes. Job change token, civil official. After using it, you can directly become a civil official. In the Shanghai village, people like Chui Yingyu and Zhao Yufeng had been transferred to the civil official group, but they still had their original professions. They didn't become official civil officials. Although it wouldn't affect their positions, it would affect their administrative efficiency. Ouyang Shua didn't hesitate and spent 20 gold coins to buy the job change token. He was going to let Chui Yingyu use this token. Her current profession was still a merchant, which didn't match her position as the financial secretary. Although the funds were a little tight, it was still worth it to let Chui Yingyu become a civil official in advance. Ouyang Shua reluctantly looked at the variety of special items. He covered his pocket and put the items he bought from the other side of the teleportation array into his storage bag. Then, he left the primary market. On the way, he heard the villagers talking from time to time. "Hey, Aunt, have you heard? Our village is going to privatize something." Privatize? What is privatize? Privatize isn't something. It's a big deal. I heard from Mr. Gu that everyone is going to live their own lives. They won't live together anymore. Aya, what should we do? Does Sir not want us anymore? Our family of 4, aside from a few tattered clothes, we don't have anything else. If we all live our own lives, how are we going to live? Aunt, you're wrong about Sir. Sir is so benevolent. How could he not care about us? I heard that after we split up, Sir will give each of us food, meat, and a new set of clothes. That's good. At least we don't have to worry about starving. What's starving? The benefits aren't just that. Mr. Gu said that after privatizing, Sir will still give us wages. As long as we work hard and save some money, we can even buy a house to live in. 4 farmers like your family, Sir will even give you land for free. You just have to hand over some food to Sir when the harvest is over. In my opinion, as long as we work hard, we might even live better than now. Mother Goddess, please bless us. This is a big deal. Where did you hear it? I'm going to take a look too. At the square in front of the Lord's mansion. Mr. Gu posted a notice there. All right, I'll bring my husband to take a look too. Then go quickly. I want to go home and tell my husband. I heard that this time, even those shops are going to be sold. I want to talk to my husband and see if we can borrow some money to buy the blacksmith shop. All right. Ouyang Shua smiled happily as he listened to the villagers' discussion. The administrative office acted quite quickly. They first posted the notice to warm everyone up. Chapter 38. Ouyang Shua walked out of the primary market and passed through the commercial street, passing by the woodcraft workshop. He thought of the compass chariot from before and walked into the woodcraft workshop. The woodcraft workshop was filled with a joyous atmosphere, completely different from the gloomy atmosphere from before. Lu Guangji saw Ouyang Shua at a glance and quickly walked up to him, saying with a smile, "Greetings, sir. Master Lu, is there good news?" Before Lu Guangji could speak, the apprentice at the side beamed with joy and said excitedly, "Sir, this morning we successfully built the compass carriage." Yes, and Master really did break through to become an advanced carpenter, just as Master predicted. Another apprentice interrupted. Lu Guangji glared at the two apprentices, blaming them for being rude in front of Sir. He turned to Ouyang Shuo apologetically and said, "My apprentice was rude. Please don't blame him, sir." Ouyang Shuo waved his hand, indicating that he didn't need to mind. "Then I really have to congratulate Master Lu. It's all thanks to the territory's protection that I was able to smoothly advance. This morning, when the golden light of the territory's level up swept over me, I was suddenly enlightened. The most important part of the compass chariot was naturally solved by me," Lu Guangji said excitedly. "Oh, there was such a thing? The golden light of the territory's level up actually helped skilled people break through. This was probably a hidden setting of the system. After all, Ouyang Shuo had never played Lord mode in his previous life, so it was normal that he didn't know some obscure information. He guessed that such a big effect was related to the Gold Village creation order. Otherwise, this kind of hidden setting wouldn't have been able to be hidden." Ouyang Shuo nodded. "Master Lu, have you heard about the privatization of the territory?" "I've heard a bit. My apprentice has already told me." "Then, do you have any thoughts about the privatization, especially the woodcraft workshop?" Ouyang Shuo asked. Lu Guangji said hesitantly, "Sir, I'll tell you the truth. I don't have any plans to buy the woodcraft workshop yet." "Oh, why?" Ouyang Shuo asked in surprise. "Ever since the woodcraft workshop was built, apart from developing the compass chariot, there hasn't been much work. I'm worried that once I buy the workshop, I won't be able to make a living." Ouyang Shuo smiled, then withdrew the wooden ox and flowing horse manufacturing manual for his storage pouch and passed it to Lu Guangji. "Take a look at this manual first. Are you confident in being able to manufacture it?" Lu Guangji took the handbook and carefully flipped through it. With just a glance, he was mesmerized, completely forgetting that Ouyang Shuo was still at the side waiting for his reply. Ouyang Shuo sat leisurely at the side and waited patiently. He had a rough idea of the difficulties of the carpentry workshop that Lu Guangji had mentioned before. Although Earthon 1, he claimed to be highly realistic in the early stages of the game, in order to ensure that Overlord players could successfully establish themselves in the wilderness. Many areas were blurred. The most direct embodiment was in the aspect of architecture. Take the residential courtyard as an example. Apart from the construction rate being the same as other designs, it also received a time bonus. There were also many additional accessories. Simply put, after the residence courtyard was built, all the furniture and household items needed by the villagers would be automatically generated. There wouldn't be an awkward situation where the villagers still had to sleep on the ground after the house was built. It was the same for other shops. For example, after the blacksmith shop was built, all the necessary facilities would be automatically generated to ensure that the blacksmith would be able to operate smoothly. The cost of these facilities would be reflected in the architectural drawings. Therefore, buildings such as simple fences, pigsty, and the like didn't need the corresponding facilities to be generated, so they could be built directly without the architectural drawings. Of course, as time passed and the players' territories were gradually perfected, this kind of blurring would decrease, and the rules of the game would be more in line with reality. It was precisely because of this design that the villagers didn't need to find carpenters to build furniture. It was no wonder that Lu Guangji was worried about the future after the privatization. 20 minutes later, Lu Guangji finished reading the handbook. He raised his head and saw Ouyang Shuo sitting at the side. He said fearfully, "I was lost for a moment. Please punish me, sir." Ouyang Shuo waved his hand. "How is it? Are you confident in making it?" Lu Guangji said confidently, "If it was before today, I wouldn't dare to boast. But now that I'm lucky enough to be promoted to a senior carpenter and have the experience of making a compass, I'm 90% sure that I can make the wooden oxen and flowing horses described in the book." "Good. Since that's the case, I have a proposal that I hope Master Lu can consider." "Please speak, sir." "It's like this. The territory has a huge demand for the wooden oxen and flowing horses described in the book. Therefore, my proposal is that Master Lu not only buy the carpentry workshop, but also expand it. After that, the territory will sign a processing contract with Master Lu's carpentry workshop in the name of the Supplies Reserve Department. The reserve department will provide the manufacturing technology and wood materials, and your carpentry workshop will be responsible for processing the wooden oxen and flowing horses. For every wooden ox or flowing horse produced, the reserve department will pay 20 copper coins as remuneration. This way, we'll help the territory and solve the woodworking workshop's predicament. What do you think? Ouyang Shua asked. Lu Guangji was very excited after listening. For a carpenter like him, the woodworking workshop was his root and sustenance. Now, not only could he solve the woodworking workshop's predicament, but he could also go up a level. Without hesitation, he directly said, "No need to consider. I agree." Very good. The wooden oxen and flowing horses manufacturing manual will be left with you. As for the specific contract, the people from the reserve department will discuss it with you later. When you sign the contract, I will also be present. Lu Guangji nodded, but still seemed very excited. When he left the woodworking workshop, it was already noon. After Ouyang Shua had lunch, he rested in his bedroom. When he woke up, he didn't return to his office. Instead, he went to the administrative office next door. Right now, the administrative office was already slightly crowded. The administrative office, the financial department, and the reserve department were all working here. Ouyang Shua first gave the 8 building blueprints that he bought in the morning, along with the blueprints of the weapons workshop, to Zhao Duong of the construction department. He told him clearly where these buildings should be built. At the same time, he told him to finish these buildings as soon as possible. There was still a big project waiting for the construction department. Ever since he was officially appointed as the director of the construction department, Zhao Duong became even more motivated. He completed the tasks that Ouyang Shua gave him to the letter. He patted his chest and said that he would use the fastest speed to turn these blueprints into buildings. Ouyang Shua encouraged him and took the opportunity to buy people's hearts. Although he had completely handed over the administrative office to Fan Zhongyan, it didn't mean that he would completely let the administrative office be out of his control. As the saying goes, no one is perfect. Ouyang Shua knew that some of Fan Zhongyan's reform measures were too radical and some of his ideas were too pragmatic. Therefore, he had to ensure that the administrative office was still under his control so that Fan Zhongyan wouldn't bring some radical reform measures to Shanghai Village. He didn't think that he was the protagonist of a YY novel with an invincible protagonist halo. As long as the administrative affairs of the territory were handed over to historical figures, he could be at ease and be a hands-off shopkeeper. He could travel around, fight, and pick up girls. Even so, the territory could still run according to his will, without the slightest deviation. Then, Ouyang Shua found Zhao Yufeng of the reserve department and told him about the proposal he made to the woodworking workshop in the morning and asked him to follow up on it. This kind of contract will be one of the main modes of cooperation between the reserve department and shops or private workshops in the future. Therefore, the supplies reserve division must make sure that their preparations are solid. The drafted contract must be sent to Mr. Sheng Jiaoyang and I for review to ensure that there are no loopholes in the contract. In addition, the linen clothes that were previously made by the tailor shop must also be supplemented with a similar contract. I suggest that we deal with these 2 contracts together. At an appropriate time, hold an agreement signing ceremony, and invite all the skilled people in the territory to participate. Make them aware of the benefits of privatization, and increase their enthusiasm. Zhao Yufeng nodded vigorously, looked at Ouyang Shua with worship in his eyes, and said excitedly, "This subordinate admires Sir's plan. In this way, the obstacles of privatization of the shops will no longer exist. Those skilled people will no longer have to worry about not being able to find work after privatization. In the future, they will take the initiative to recruit apprentices and expand the scale of the shops without us urging them." As a veteran of the territory, Zhao Yufeng knew how much effort Ouyang Shua had put in to persuade those skilled people to recruit apprentices, and how many conditions he had promised. Ouyang Shua nodded, expressing his appreciation for Zhao Yufeng's comprehension. Not bad. This is the magic of privatization. Only when it concerns their personal interests can they be aroused and stimulate the territory's economic development. You've made great progress by being able to draw inferences about other cases from one case and see the meaning behind this contract. It seems that you've also grown a lot from the training in the reserve department. This is all thanks to Sir's guidance. This subordinate doesn't dare to be greedy. Zhao Yufeng suppressed the excitement in his heart and said respectfully. Ouyang Shuo waved his hand, saying, "All right, you don't need to be too modest. I think you should recommend a new director for the lumber yard and report it to Mr. Sheng Jiaoyong for approval. From now on, you can focus on the affairs of the reserve department. Learn more and get familiar with the work at hand as soon as possible. If there's anything you don't understand, don't hide it for fear of treatment. Take the initiative to ask Director Cui and Mr. Sheng Jiaoyong. Of course, you can also come to me directly. You can't fall behind in your adult literacy classes. Instead, you have to work even harder." This was the first time Ouyang Shuo had taught a territory's commanding officer like this. It could even be said that he was exhorting Zhao Yufeng to his face. From this, it could be seen that he had high expectations of Zhao Yufeng. Zhao Yufeng was obviously well aware of this, and he was extremely grateful to Ouyang Shuo. At this moment, he could no longer suppress the excitement in his heart. This subordinate will never forget Sir's teachings. From now on, I will definitely forge ahead and not let Sir down. Ouyang Shuo patted his shoulder and didn't say anything else. Chapter 39. Ouyang Shuo walked to Yingyu's side and took out the civil official transfer token from his storage pouch. He smiled and said, "Little Yu, I have something good for you." Chuang Yu took the token and opened her mouth in surprise. She was very cute. The strange thing was that the happiness on her face disappeared and was replaced by melancholy. Ouyang Shuo was baffled. He was completely at a loss and asked doubtfully, "What's wrong? Is little Yu not happy to be able to become a civil official?" Yingyu's expression was complicated. She said in a low voice, "Little Yu is naturally happy to be able to change jobs. It's just that I suddenly remembered that after changing jobs, my merchant job will disappear. This is the only connection I have with my family. Once I lose it, I will inevitably feel sad and reluctant." This last was just reminiscing about the past and was homesick. Yes, many times, Ouyang Shuo had unconsciously neglected this point. He had almost forgotten that this seemingly strong sister of his had such a miserable experience. In this world, other than the Shanghai village, she had another family called the Supreme Court's Cui family. There were still her clansmen living in this world. Ouyang Shuo gently patted Yingyu's head and said softly, "Silly girl, don't think too much. I promise you that once the territory has the power to cross the wilderness and reach the Supreme Court, I will definitely help you reunite with your clansmen. Besides, don't you still have me and little Qing? We're all your family." Cui Yingyu restrained her emotions and said with a forced smile, "Big brother, you must keep your word. But when I really leave, big brother, don't be reluctant to part with me." Yingyu is such a strong and sensible girl. She never let the people around her worry about her. She was so strong that it made people feel sorry for her. Perhaps only in front of her big brother, Ouyang Shuo, would she occasionally show her weakness and affection. "What? Are you saying that if you leave, you won't be my sister anymore? You can't deny it. All right, let's not make too many assumptions about the future. Now, hurry up and use the class change token. Let me have a look at your new class." Yingyu heard this and immediately activated the transfer token in her hand. With a whoosh, the token turned into a white light and shot into the space between her eyebrows. Ouyang Shuo hurriedly used detection to check her attributes. Name, Cui Yingyu Gold. Identity, Shanghai Village Financial Secretary and Head of the Bank of the Four Seas. Occupation, Civil Official. Loyalty, 90 points. Commander, 25. Martial Power, 10 Intelligence, 50 Politics, 58 Specialties. Meticulous Calculation, increases the territory's trade profits by 1. Meticulous Mind, increases the territory's tax revenue by 5. Evaluation, the daughter of the Cui family, a business aristocratic family. She has a gentle temperament and is good at doing business. She is not inferior to men. tenacious and strong, meticulous, astute, and eager to learn. Not only was she a beautiful jade, she was also a good talent. It would have been better if he hadn't seen it, but the moment he did, he was shocked. Ouyang Shuo didn't even know when Yingyu had been promoted to a gold-rank talent. Not only that, but it also gave birth to a specialty that was extremely compatible with the financial secretary. With this, the title of the god of wealth of the Mountain Sea village was solidified. After the promotion, even his character evaluation had improved a lot. Previously, it was only a short sentence, but now it was directly described as a talented and beautiful jade. It could be seen that Yingyu still had the potential to advance further. Ouyang Shuo smiled and said, "Congratulations, you heir." Yingyu giggled and said, "Hee, I still have to thank Big Brother for giving me the profession change token. Why are you so polite with Big Brother? The stronger you are, the easier it will be for me, right?" Ouyang Shuo teased. Chui Yingyu smiled coquettishly and pretended to be angry. Big Brother, you really have the potential to be a landlord. All you think about is exploiting us all day long. All right, Big Brother won't disturb you anymore. Hurry up and do your work." Ouyang Shuo shamelessly ended the conversation. Chui Yingyu helplessly laughed bitterly, glared at him, and went to do her work. Just like the promotion of skilled talents, Ouyang Shuo, as a lord, would not receive any notification for the promotion of special talents. After seeing that Chui Yingyu had been promoted to a gold-ranked talent, he couldn't care about anything else. He immediately used detection to check on Gu Xiuwen and Zhao Dexian, who were in the same office as him. Name, Gu Xiuwen, Silver, Identity, Shanghai Village Administrative Office Director Assistant and Chief of the Household Registration Office Profession, Civil Official, Tong Sheng, Loyalty, 85 Commander, 25 Strength, 15 Intelligence, 45 Politics, 55 Specialty, Knowledgeable, increases the efficiency of territory administration by 5. Description: a scholar from a humble family, poor but determined, well-read, a modest gentleman. As expected, Gu Xiuwen had been promoted to a silver-ranked talent. Because he had already gained a specialty when he was at the Dark Iron level, he didn't gain a new specialty this time. Similarly, Zhao Dexian had also been promoted from the Bronze level to the Dark Iron level. Unfortunately, he didn't gain a specialty like Gu Xiuwen. Name, Zhao Daxian, Dark Iron. Identity, Shanghai Village Agricultural Reclamation Department Director. Profession, Civil Official. Loyalty, 85 Commander, 20 Strength, 20 Intelligence, 30 Politics, 38 Description, former Zhao family Ditch Village Chief, well-mannered, good at managing the village, good at agricultural and water conservancy management. After checking their attributes, Ouyang Shuo found Fan Zhongyan and had a simple chat with him. Ouyang Shuo also told Fan Zhongyan about what he had told the Construction Division and the Resource Reserve Division. No matter what, he was still the chief official. He still had to be given the respect he deserved. Ouyang Shuo could bypass Fan Zhongyan and directly arrange things for the Construction Division. No one could say anything. However, if Ouyang Shuo didn't even tell the chief official of the Construction Division, he would be breaking the rules of the game. In the long run, it would be a blow to Fan Zhongyan's reputation. This was something Ouyang Shuo didn't want to see. After leaving the administrative office, Ouyang Shuo returned to his own office. For the rest of the time, he didn't read as usual. Instead, he took out a pen and paper and started to write and draw. Considering that Chui Yingyu had no previous experience in politics, she didn't know much about finance and taxes. Of course, Ouyang Shuo wouldn't just leave the financial secretary to her like that. In the beginning, he was still prepared to give her a hand. After Yingyu got used to it, and the financial secretary started to get on the right track, he would slowly let go. Therefore, using the rare free time in the afternoon, he planned to combine his understanding of finance and taxation with the advanced finance and taxation systems of the real world, as well as the finance and taxation systems of the various dynasties in ancient times, to compile a practical and forward-looking work guide for the financial secretary. In this work guide, the definition and role of finance and taxes, how to carry out finance and tax work, and what to pay attention to, as well as how to establish a perfect finance and tax system, were all explained in simple terms. He wrote this in a work guide. Finance was an economic activity with the territory as the main body. It was an activity in which the territory gathered a portion of the income of the citizens to satisfy the public needs of the territory, in order to optimize the allocation of resources and achieve the goal of economic stability and development. Finance included taxes, income from the territory's exclusive industries, and other income. To increase finance and tax revenue, the most fundamental method was to develop the economy. The fundamental factor that affected finance and tax revenue was the level of economic development. Therefore, only by vigorously developing the economy and encouraging the development of handicrafts and commerce could the economy grow steadily and tax revenue could increase. Ouyang Shuo believed that with this work guide, with Inyu's intelligence and wisdom, as long as he gave her some pointers, she would be able to operate the financial secretary. Of course, it was inevitable that there would be some bumps in the process. After writing the work guide, Ouyang Shuo went offline to rest. As for the operation of the Bank of the Four Seas, Inyu still had experience. The Chui family was a business family of the Supreme Court and had their own bank. Chui Inyu had been influenced since she was young, so he didn't need to worry. In reality, it was still the weekend. Today, Sun Xiaoya and Binger didn't plan to stay at home. The two beauties got up early to freshen up. After breakfast, they dragged Ouyang Shuo to go shopping. They even said that they were taking him to relax, but in reality, they were just looking for a coolie to carry their bags. In a comprehensive shopping center, there was food, drink, and entertainment. Shopping was a woman's natural skill. Even the little girl Binger, under Sun Xiaoya's influence, became eager to try it out. As a matter of fact, the little girl walked out of the fitting room wearing a sky blue patterned dress. She spun around, looked at Ouyang Shuo with her big cute eyes, and said sweetly, "Brother, is Binger beautiful in this dress?" Although this was the 7th dress that the little girl had tried on, Ouyang Shuo still managed to maintain the smile that he thought was perfect, but it was actually a bit stiff. He opened his mouth and praised, "Beautiful, it's really beautiful. Wearing this dress, our Binger is simply a blue fairy that fell into the mortal world." After being praised like this, the little girl was so happy that her eyes narrowed. She skipped back to the fitting room and went to change into new clothes. At this time, Sun Xiaoya walked out of the fitting room wearing a short-sleeved satin pattern dress. Immediately, a fresh and elegant temperament hit him in the face. This kind of Sun Xiaoya really stunned Ouyang Shuo. He couldn't help but blurt out, "Too beautiful." Sun Xiaoya, who was looking at herself in the mirror, was startled by Ouyang Shuo. Her little face turned red. Ouyang Shuo also felt that he was a bit impulsive and stood awkwardly to the side. When he walked out of the clothing store, Ouyang Shuo carried 5 or 6 bags in his hands. In order to express his apology, this time, Ouyang Shuo spent a lot of money and bought all the clothes that the two beauties liked. He spent more than 4,000 credits in one go. At this time, 2 girls came from the opposite side. After seeing Sun Xiaoya, they screamed and ran over, saying excitedly, "Wow, you're also here. What a coincidence." Sun Xiaoya was also very happy, but her complexion changed immediately. She pretended to be sad and said, "Humph, it's all because of those 2 guys who value love over friendship. They left me alone. Now, I don't even have anyone to go shopping with me." It turned out that these 2 girls were Sun Xiaoya's former roommates. She didn't expect to coincidentally meet them in the shopping center. The 3 women gathered together and chattered incessantly. Chapter 40. Sun Xiaoya turned around and smiled apologetically at Ouyang Shuo, sweetly saying, "Big brother Ouyang, let me introduce you. These 2 are my former roommates." The cute girl on the left with a petite figure, wearing a black sweater and tight pants, was called Pan Xiao Xiao. The beautiful girl on the right with a slender figure, a light yellow face, and a pale pink chiffon skirt was called Qin Ruo. Towards people he just met, regardless of gender, Ouyang Shuo usually didn't say much. After a simple greeting, he quietly stood to the side and listened. Compared to Ouyang Shuo's calmness, Pan Xiao Xiao and Qin Ruo were full of curiosity towards him. They sized up Ouyang Shuo, wanting to see what kind of god he was. Qin Ruo was more reserved, only glancing at him a few times intentionally or unintentionally. Pan Xiao was somewhat unscrupulous, using an invasive gaze to recklessly size up Ouyang Shuo. If it wasn't for his strong mental endurance, his face would have turned red from being stared at by this girl. It must be known that Sun Xiaoya hadn't even had a boyfriend before, but now she actually agreed to share a room with a boy. It was really too strange. In a situation like this, there were only two possibilities. Either this man's appearance was too harmless, or he didn't have any lethality, or he was very charming and the little girl was smitten. Ouyang Shuo had a height of 1.8 meters, delicate features, and a calm temperament. Although he wasn't a pretty boy, he was absolutely not harmless. Therefore, there was only one answer, and that was Sun Xiaoya's spring had come. Pan Xiao was relatively simple, and her personality was also straightforward. She directly pulled Sun Xiaoya to the side and slyly asked, "Hee, little Yi, be honest, is that your boyfriend?" "Big brother, Ouyang? Lenient if you confess, severe if you resist." Sun Xiaoya flew into a rage out of humiliation, pinched her waist, and scolded with a smile. "Damn girl, he's really just a roommate. If you dare to talk nonsense again, see if I don't tear your mouth apart." Little Yi, you're trying to cover up, obviously like a wildcat in heat, but you're still pretending to be innocent. Pan Xiao wasn't willing to be outdone, and her words were sharp, making Ouyang Shuo blush with shame. He couldn't help but sigh. Was he really old? He couldn't keep up with them at all. Qin Ruo glanced at Ouyang Shuo, who was still calm, and said, "I'll also call you Big Brother Ouyang like Yi, if you don't mind, right?" Ouyang Shuo said with a smile, "It's my honor. I've heard little you mention you guys before, and now that I've seen you in person, you're all great beauties indeed." No matter what kind of woman she was, she couldn't resist compliments. Qin Ruo was no exception as she teasingly said, "Since you're complimenting me so much, don't tell me that you're really going to pursue my little you. Tell me, what information do you want?" "I'll tell you everything I know." It seemed that no matter what kind of woman she was, she couldn't escape the potential of gossip. Helplessly, he turned around and pulled Bing over, saying, "You really have misunderstood. This is my little sister, Ouyang Bing. Xiaoyu only agreed to share a room because of Bing. It's not as complicated as you think." In front of strangers, Bing instantly turned into a well-behaved child. She said crisply, "Hello, pretty sister." Bing cuteness was attractive to both men and women. Qin Ruo crouched down and pulled Bing little hand. "Wow, such a cute little sister. Come, let sister hug you." She didn't care if Bing agreed or not. She pulled her into her arms. However, he was still not satisfied. He touched and kissed Bing's little face. Poor Bing. Turned her little head with difficulty and made an expression of asking for help at Ouyang Shuo. Ouyang Shuo stood at the side, expressing his helplessness. The little girl's little face immediately turned bitter. Her eyes were wide open as she stared at her bad brother, who didn't help her. At this time, Sun Xiaoya and Pan Xiao had finished playing and walked over. Pan Xiao was also very happy to see Bing. Poor Bing. She had just escaped from the claws of a wolf, but fell into a tiger's den. The following time was simply a history of suffering for Ouyang Shuo. Accompanying two girls to go shopping was already hard enough for him. Now, it suddenly increased to 4. He was like an animal in charge of carrying things as he followed the 4 girls, shuttling back and forth between the shops. Little did he know that his luck with women had caused countless boys to be endlessly envious, wishing that they could replace him. He really didn't know how lucky he was. In the evening, Ouyang Shuo treated everyone to a sumptuous meal, and then everyone went their separate ways. Before leaving, Bing cutely rubbed her little belly. Ouyang Shuo knew that the little girl must be tired after walking for a day. He crouched down and said with a smile, "Come, Big Brother will carry you back." Bing immediately beamed with joy. She giggled and ran to Ouyang Shuo's back. She jumped on Ouyang Shuo's back and skillfully wrapped her little hand around his neck. Sun Xiaoya stood at the side. Seeing Ouyang Shua carrying 5 to 6 bags in his hands, 2 bags hanging on his neck, and Binger on his back, she secretly laughed. However, she wouldn't show her conscience and help Ouyang Shua carry his things. Who told him to be a boy? She was exercising the privilege of girl. After walking for a day, although Ouyang Shua was a little tired, he was still very happy in his heart. Ever since she had Sun Xiaoya, Bing had become more and more cheerful. This was something that couldn't be exchanged for anything. It was rare for him to crack a joke. He turned to Sun Xiaoya and teasingly said, "Let's go. Are you waiting for me to carry you back?" Sun Xiaoya angrily kicked him and walked away without looking back. Ouyang Shua chuckled and quickly followed her. When he returned home, Bing had already fallen asleep on Ouyang Shua's back. He carried the little girl back to the bedroom, took off his coat, and covered her with a quilt. At this time, the little girl murmured in a daze, "Binger wants to brush her teeth. Binger doesn't want her teeth to have cavities." Ouyang Shua laughed and patted her little head as he softly said, "Baby, brush your teeth in the morning and you won't get cavities." Only then did the little girl feel relieved and fell asleep. Because it was already 9 p.m., Ouyang Shua didn't stay long and prepared to return to his bedroom. Sun Xiaoya stopped him. "Big brother Ouyang, our school will have winter vacation in a few days. I also want to go home to celebrate the new year." Ouyang Shua was stunned for a moment and murmured, "Time really flies. It's going to be the new year in the blink of an eye. It's okay, don't worry. Anyway, Bing was going to have her vacation soon. During the vacation, I'll go online later every day to accompany the little girl." Sun Xiaoya deliberately told him that she wanted to go home during the vacation, not because she couldn't bear to part with him, but because she was worried that Bing would have no one to accompany her. In any case, the territory's construction was already on the right track, so he didn't need to go online so early every day. It just so happened that he could take over Sun Xiaoya's work. The two of them simply chatted for a while and then returned to their respective rooms. Ouyang Shua could feel that Pan Xiaoqiao's teasing words during the day still had some influence on Sun Xiaoya. There was less tacit understanding between the two of them, and more awkwardness. Not long after he went online, a system announcement rang in his ears. System announcement: congratulations to player Di Chun for becoming the second lord of the village to be promoted to level 3 in the China region. Achievement points awarded, 10,000. System announcement: congratulations to player Di Chun for becoming the second lord of the village to be promoted to level 3 in the China region. Achievement points awarded, 10,000. System announcement: congratulations to player Di Chun for becoming the second lord of the village to be promoted to level 3 in the China region. Achievement points awarded, 10,000. What a fast speed. In just one day, Di Chun had replenished the buildings and people that were damaged in the territorial defense war and quickly promoted to a level 3 village. In this territorial defense war, Di Chun's Handan village was ranked 4th in the world rankings and was rewarded with 450,000 gold coins. The other 6 lords of Handan also more or less received a sum of gold coins. It could be said that the financial restrictions of the village stage no longer existed for them. If it wasn't for the territory index requirements set by the system when they were upgrading to a level 1 town, Ouyang Shua believed that the 6 lords of Handan would definitely be ahead of him and be the first to be promoted to a level 1 town. Ignoring the commotion of the outside world, Ouyang Shua called Ying Yu to his office and handed her the financial secretary's work guide that he had written yesterday. Ying Yu took the draft and skimmed through it. Smiling, she said, "Big brother is still so meticulous. You've really helped me a lot this time." The two of them exchanged their opinions on the establishment of the financial secretary. Ying Yu originally wanted to bring her disciple, Du Xiaolan, to the financial secretary as her assistant. Unfortunately, Ouyang Shua had already promoted Du Xiaolan to the assistant director of the resource and reserve department. "How's Qian Li Fei's performance recently?" Ouyang Shua asked Ying Yu's other disciple, the bastard son of the landlord. Ouyang Shua didn't have much contact with him, so he wanted to ask Ying Yu's opinion. Ying Yu said cautiously, "Qian Li Fei is a good person. He's very motivated in both doing things and learning things. It's just that maybe because of his background, he seems to have a low self-esteem. Sometimes he's too careful and cautious when dealing with people. That's good. No one is perfect. In the financial secretary, you need to be careful and cautious. As long as you can make the best use of people, don't be too harsh. Ouyang Shua said with a smile. Chui and you nodded in agreement. As for the rest of the people, we'll have to look for them slowly. My principle is that I'd rather have nothing than have something shoddy. If it really doesn't work, we'll wait until Lianzhou Academy is established and the first batch of students graduate. Then, we'll select suitable people to fill in the financial secretary and the Bank of the Four Seas. That's the only way, Chui and you said helplessly. When Chui and you left, Gu Xiuan walked in on the dot. Ouyang Shua said with a smile. Xiuan, were you waiting outside? You're so punctual. You must be joking, sir. I have good news to report to you. Oh, what good news? It's like this. Just as you predicted, there are a lot of refugees spawning today. There are 63 of them. Not only is there a beginner potter that the territory needs, but there's also an advanced blacksmith among them. Gu Xiuan said with a smile. Great. What are their names? Where are they from? The potter is called Zhu Yoji. There's nothing special about him. The advanced blacksmith, Wang Zhuan, was originally residing in the player territory. During the defensive battle, his Qingshan village was destroyed, so he ended up here. Ouyang Shua nodded. Now, all the buildings in the level 3 village can be built. After you come down, you need to supervise the construction department and get this done as soon as possible. Gu Xiuan nodded to show that he understood. Chapter 41. Ouyang Shua prepared to make a trip to the barracks to see how the new recruits were being selected. When he went out, Heya, who had grown a lot, scuttled out from the corner of the courtyard and followed behind Ouyang Shua. Ever since second baby went to the private school to study, there was no one to play with him during the day. This little cub could only run around the courtyard by itself. Ever since Gu Sanyang took charge of the Lord's Mansion's kitchen, Heya's meals had greatly improved. In less than a month's time, the little cub had grown to be extremely sturdy. His master, Ouyang Shua, was either busy with the territory's affairs or hiding in the office to read. He never paid any attention to it, leaving it to fend for itself. Towards this master who often ignored it, Heya seemed to have some resentment. Now that its master was about to go out again, it pitifully followed behind, not leaving even an inch. Ouyang Shua did not care about it and let it follow him, walking straight out. Along the way, there were construction sites everywhere, a bustling scene. On the commercial street, grain shops, butcher shops, and cloth shops had already started construction. The wave of privatization became more and more intense, and there were sounds of discussion everywhere. At this time, on the grain shop construction site, two young men were chatting enthusiastically. Hey, Xiao Wang. Why are you so energetic today? Haha, it's all because of the privatization. Last night, Chui Hua found me and secretly told me that as long as I can buy a small courtyard, she will marry me and live with me. Hey kid, you're amazing. Usually you look like a taciturn gourd. Why are you so quiet this time? When did you hook up with such a beautiful girl like Chui Hua? You've hidden yourself well, kid. Go, what's called hooking up? The two of us are in love with each other. Do you understand? Bullshit. Others don't understand you. But how can I not know? You kid, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. I think those young ladies will fall for this trick of yours. Usually you look serious and honest, but at the crucial moment, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeve. Go. Don't tarnish my image here, you're just jealous. Jealous my ass. You're my good brother. I'm only happy that you found a wife. Haha. Speaking of which, stinking brat. When are you going to teach me a trick or two so that I can also find a beautiful wife and live a peaceful and stable life together? That's called happiness. I don't have any tricks. As long as you are sincere, it will work, understand? When you're free, go and offer incense to Matsunyang Yang and pay your respects. Nonsense. Her Majesty is the sea god. How could she care about the marriages of the mortal world? Believe it or not, it's up to you. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Hurry up and get to work. Later on, I'll go and find out how much this little courtyard costs. Ouyang Shuo found the conversation between the two interesting. He called them over and asked with a smile, "What are your names? Which household do you belong to?" "Sir, I am Wang Er, Shi, a craftsman, a stonemason." The two young men replied cautiously. "Stonemason, good job, it's a good skill." He pointed at Wang Er and smiled. "Didn't you want to find out how much the courtyard costs? I can tell you now, it's only 600 copper coins. As long as you're willing to work hard, it's only a matter of time before you get your own courtyard." "Thank you, sir," Wang Er said excitedly. "No need to thank me. You deserve it." "What did you say just now? You're getting a wife? Very good. This is a joyous occasion. How about this? On the day of your wedding, I'll be your witness." Wang Er was overjoyed and couldn't speak. Ouyang Shuo patted his shoulder and smiled. "All right, go do what you need to do. Remember what I said. When you get married, come find me at the Lord's mansion." Wang Er nodded hard. His companions were very envious. The construction division started upgrading the barracks yesterday afternoon. They worked overtime and completed it this morning. The new military camp was 5 times larger than before. It was fully equipped with all the necessary facilities, so it was no longer crowded. On the brand new field, Shi Wansui was taking Lin Yi with him, busy selecting soldiers. This time, they needed to recruit 73 new soldiers at once. It was a lot of work. They'd already put up the recruitment notice yesterday. After the last territorial defense battle, everyone's enthusiasm for joining the army was very high. Ouyang Shuo did a rough count. There were about 120 people signing up. As expected, most of them were members of the disbanded militia reserve force. Because there were enough soldiers, Shi Wansui set 4 standards: height, build, vision, and stamina. Only those who met all 4 standards could be accepted. Height must be no less than 5 feet 2 inches, which was 173 centimeters in real life. In ancient times, this was already a very tall standard. Build required people legs, a chariot body, and more strength. People legs meant thick thighs, and a chariot body meant wide shoulders and a narrow waist. Other than that, there was also a strength requirement. Arm strength was the main factor, and those with strong arms were given priority. Arm strength was a prerequisite for using a crossbow, and since the recruitment was mainly for crossbowmen, every soldier was required to be equipped with a single-arm crossbow. The arm strength test was very simple. As long as one could lift a special stone lock with one hand, they passed. The stone lock weighed 50 kilograms, and only those with extraordinary arm strength could lift it. Crossbow cavalry also had a high requirement for the soldier's eyesight. Those with night blindness and myopia were eliminated first, and the ones with excellent vision were chosen from the rest. The last test was the stamina test. Applicants were required to run 10 laps around the drill ground. 1 lap of the drill ground was nearly 400 meters, which meant that applicants had to run nearly 4,000 meters to pass. Ouyang Shuo stood on the side, watching the recruitment test with interest. After every test, some people were happy, while others were worried. Those who passed the test cheered. Those who failed the test were naturally dejected. It lasted until 3 in the afternoon before all the soldiers were selected. 73 qualified candidates lined up on the drill ground, and the rest were sent out of the barracks. Ouyang Shuo nodded, satisfied with Shi Wansui's recruitment. He didn't give an impromptu speech, but went straight to the secret room and pressed his right hand on the door. System notification. Congratulations to player not wearing for opening the barracks secret room. Intermediate barracks allows you to change a farmer to a level 1 militia. Class change fee is 10 silver. You can also change a level 10 militia to a level 1 soldier. Class change fee is 1 gold. Please select your class change method. Militia. System notification. Class change method confirmed. Please select the number of people to change. 73 people. System notification. Class change number confirmed. Deducting player not wearing for 7 gold and 30 silver. The new members lined up on the drill ground, walked into the secret room, and began the class change. The militia that completed the class change weren't directly assigned to the cavalry platoon or the military intelligence department. Instead, They gathered together to train and level. Once they reached level 10, they would be distributed according to their performance in the militia stage. This method was similar to the design of a recruit camp in real life. After the recruitment, Ouyang Shua called Shi Wan Sui, Lin Yi, and Dog 3 to the barracks meeting room. He felt that there was a need to arrange the next phase of the army's mission separately. At the village stage, a cavalry platoon is enough to deal with all kinds of challenges. After the expansion of the territory, there might be new bandit camps. I won't be participating in the mission to wipe out the bandit camps this time. I'll leave it to the cavalry platoon and the military intelligence department. There's only one requirement, and that is to train the troops to the greatest extent possible under the premise of minimizing casualties. Especially the new recruits, we need to let them see blood. An army without guts has no future. Don't be overcautious. I'll give you a casualty target. Shi Wan Sui and Lin Yi nodded hard, indicating that they understood. We can't slack on our daily training. I suggest that General Shi take charge of the Army's code of conduct, standardized training, and strict military discipline. Discipline is the soul of the Army. We have to be strict from the start, and we have to be constant. After we come down, I'll write a guide on military discipline and daily training for reference. Shi Wan Sui nodded seriously, his expression solemn. This fierce general naturally had a way of fighting a war, but he was still lacking in the daily management of the army. Fortunately, the army was still in its early stages, and there was still time for everything. With Lin Yi's help, it would be much better. Other than the bandit camps, we can't be lenient on the beasts either. Those that need to be eliminated must be eliminated resolutely. We can't let these beasts grow to a large scale and leave behind hidden dangers. A long time ago, General Shi encountered a herd of wild goats, but they mysteriously disappeared. I'm wondering if they've gone up the mountain to hide. During this time, the cavalry platoon and the military intelligence department should work together to increase the search effort and strive to add another type of beast to the territory. At the mention of the wild goats, Shi Wan Sui felt a little embarrassed. It had been so long, but he still had no clue. He clenched his fist, swearing to find these beasts this time. Ouyang Shua turned to look at Dog 3. The military intelligence department has just been established, so I won't make too many requests. Your mission is outside, but not inside. We can't always wait until the territory is upgraded and passively investigate the territory's safety. Therefore, the military intelligence department needs to take the initiative to investigate the situation outside the territory. We need to understand the distribution of the bandit camps and even find out if there are other players' territories. Also, I'll give you an additional mission. During the investigation, look around and see if you can find the sapling of the mulberry tree. This is related to whether the territory can smoothly upgrade to a first-class town. Ouyang Shua turned to Shi Wan Sui and said, "This mission is also effective for the cavalry platoon." The two nodded, indicating that they understood. "All right, I'll be looking forward to your good news." Ouyang Shua ended the conversation decisively. There were many things that could only be discussed further after the situation was clear. Chapter 42. Ouyang Shua returned to his office and picked up a pen and paper. He started to write a military training manual that was suitable for the territory based on the Federation Army's discipline and training manual. The next day, a series of system announcements exploded in Ouyang Shua's ears. System announcement. Congratulations to player Lord Chunshin for becoming the third lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 900. System announcement. Congratulations to player Lord Chunshin for becoming the third lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 900. System announcement. Congratulations to player Lord Chunshin for becoming the third lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 900. So was Lord Chunshin. This was not surprising. The God of Fortune's strength was still very strong in the early stages. Before Ouyang Shua could react, another series of system announcements rang out. System announcement. Congratulations to player Xiongba for becoming the fourth lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 800. System announcement. Congratulations to player Xiongba for becoming the fourth lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 800. System announcement. Congratulations to player Xiongba for becoming the fourth lord of a level 3 village in the China server. Achievement points rewarded 800. The China server was in an uproar when the announcement was made. Counterattack. Another counterattack. No one expected that the 6 hegemons of Handan City would be challenged once again. 1 dark horse could be understood as luck. 2 dark horses. That was not luck, but the ability of the horse in front. The 6 hegemons of Handan City used the custom-made gaming pods and the invisible deterrence of the forces behind them to slowly build up their power. Suddenly, it was on the verge of collapse. Xiongba of Hegemon Village appeared in front of the world in such a domineering manner. What was more interesting was that Hegemon Village and the 6 hegemons of Handan City seemed to be natural enemies. In an instant, the peaceful China server was filled with smoke. At this moment, for fear that the bomb thrown was not enough, the national channel, which had been silent since the start of the server, suddenly shouted, "Lord Chunshin, Brother Xiongba, congratulations, congratulations. Xiongba, hee, congratulations to you too." Every sentence spoken on the national channel cost 1 gold coin. This was the first time someone had used such an extravagant method since the beginning of the server. However, no one paid attention to this extravagant behavior anymore. What everyone was curious about was the secret information revealed in these 2 simple sentences. Lord Chunshun and Xiongba, the 2 leaders of the villages that had been upgraded to the 3rd level, shouted loudly through the national channel, congratulating each other. The meaning behind it was hard to fathom. Connecting their identities, one was the god of fortune of the Handan 6 hegemons, the backbone of the alliance. One of them was a challenger for the position of the Handan 6 warlords. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was the enemy of the Handan 6 warlords. Strangely, the 2 of them, who were supposed to be enemies, seemed to have formed an alliance. The meaning behind this was enough to whet everyone's appetite. People couldn't help but ask, are the Handan 6 lords, the strongest alliance in China, really going to fall apart? Truthfully speaking, Ouyang Shuo was also unable to understand the situation before him. In his past life, no one could shake the position of the 6 tyrants of Handan. They were very exclusive. At the same time, because of the lack of challengers, it was hard for outsiders to guess the relationship between the 6 tyrants. Even if there were conflicts between them, they would be resolved in private, and outsiders would not be able to see what was going on. Di Chun, one of the 6 tyrants, often played the role of a mediator. This time, before the alliance of the 6 tyrants of Handan had solidified, they were first attacked by Ouyang Shuo 3 times, and then by Xiongba's counterattack. It was really hard to say how much trust the 6 of them could maintain. At the same time, in the meeting hall of Handan Village near the capital, Di Chun sat in his seat, his face dark and gloomy. In the meeting hall, all the core members of Handan Village were present. They were having a meeting and did not expect to meet with such a turn of events. "Second brother, are you challenging me?" Di Chen's voice was so cold that it was frightening. It was no wonder he was so angry. Others might not know Xiongba's identity, but Di Chen did. Xiongba's family was also a political family, and had always been enemies with Di Chen's family. It would not be an exaggeration to say that the 2 of them were enemies. Now, Lord Chunshin, who was in the Handan Alliance, had openly colluded with Xiongba. To Di Chun, this was a blatant betrayal. Even Ouyang Shuo's sudden rise did not make Di Chen so angry. After all, as long as the Handan Alliance continued to operate, no single power in the China region could shake them. But now, a glaring crack was placed in front of Di Chun and could not be erased. The atmosphere in the meeting hall was especially heavy, and no one dared to make sound. Peerless Elegance, who was sitting in the first seat, broke the silence and said, "Chun, now is not the time to be angry. We need to quickly find out what Lord Chunshin's motive is." More importantly, we need to find out the background of the other four members and not fail a second time. I'm afraid this matter is not so simple. If second brother dares to speak up at this time, then he is already fully prepared and has his Iron Blood alliance within the alliance. It is also possible that this matter is just a smokescreen. He is purposely making us suspect each other so that he can win amidst the chaos. Dechen calmly analyzed. Peerless Elegance nodded. Since the crack already exists, I'm afraid it will be difficult to mend it. My idea is, while stabilizing the alliance, we need to find new allies to fill the gap left by Lord Chunshin. Dechen frowned and said hesitantly, "The new ally you're referring to, is it Naya Wui?" "That's right. As long as we successfully rope in Naya Wui, then the strength of the alliance will not only not be damaged, but will also be strengthened," Peerless Elegance said confidently. "But until now, we have not even figured out his true identity. How can we trust him?" Di-chan retorted habitually. Peerless Elegance smiled. "Actually, we have all been confused by the inertia of reality. Think about it carefully. In Earth on One, is real identity really that important? After a year, all of our real identities will no longer exist, and the cards will be reshuffled." Dechen suddenly understood. "Yes, I was thinking too much. As long as we have a common interest in the game, it really doesn't matter whether we know our real identities or not. If Naya Wui wants to make a name for himself in the game, he will definitely need to find allies. In the whole of China, is there any alliance more attractive than us? It seems like this matter has great potential. I will send him a pigeon letter and invite him to join the Handan Alliance." Second brother, this time I will definitely make you regret it." Peerless Elegance nodded, but she was not as confident as Di-chun. But at this time, it was not suitable to say anything that would hurt everyone's morale. She could only silently plan in her heart. Just as Di-chun was thinking about how to counter Lord Chunshin, Lord Chunshin's pigeon letter had already reached Ouyang Shua's hands. After receiving Lord Chunshin's and Di-chen's pigeon letters, Ouyang Shua was not surprised. He could not join either side. Don't think that these two big powers are fighting to form an alliance with him. When the day comes that Ouyang Shua's background is discovered, they will immediately turn their backs on him and devour him until not even his bones are left. Forming an alliance was about being like-minded. It was very difficult for people from different circles to come together. Ouyang Shua himself was more domineering and was the kind of person who was not willing to submit to others. And whether it was Di-chun or Lord Chunshin, they could not possibly give up their dominant position in the alliance. There was an irreconcilable contradiction between the two. Ouyang Shua immediately sent a pigeon letter to Di-chun and Lord Chunshin, tactfully expressing that it was not suitable for the alliance at the moment, and that it would not be too late to discuss the alliance when the time was right. Just as Ouyang Shua was replying to the pigeon letter, Lingxi Village, which was also part of Dali, was also having a big discussion. The four core members of Lingxi's studio, Qing, Hong, Ji, and Bai, were all present. "Big sister, what do you think of this open alliance between Lord Chunshin and Xionba?" The one speaking was the youngest of the four sisters, Qingyi. Don't be fooled by this little girl's delicate appearance, but she was the brains of the studio's core. What else can I think of it? It's nothing more than a power struggle. According to our previous interactions in other games, Lord Chunshin is a very controlling person. Of the 6 hegemons of Handan, only he and Kill Ruinous are considered veterans. As for the other 4, this is their first time playing games. Lord Chunshin is already used to being the king of the games, and even Kill Ruinous Wolf was defeated by him. But in Earth on One, Di-chun immediately snatched away his leadership position. Even the alliance he formed was named after Di-chen's territory. How would he accept this? Originally, this was not a big deal, as long as there was a conflict of interest between them. Even if Lord Chunshin had any objections, he would not be able to resist. Who would have thought that a freak like Ji Wui would appear out of nowhere? He immediately dealt 3 consecutive blows to the 6 hegemons of Handan, shattering their position as the hegemons. Lord Chunshin naturally did not want to be left out, and it is not surprising that he would stand out to provoke them. As expected of a leading figure amongst the professional players, Bai Hua's analysis was very clear, and he had clearly analyzed Lord Chuanshin's mentality. As the saying goes, the person who understands you the most is often your opponent. In the previous games, Lingxi Studio had often had some friction with Lord Chuanshin, and the two could be considered old rivals. The second sister, Violet, pursed her lips into a smile and said playfully, "Big sister, the freak you speak of is like us in the Supreme Court." Among the sisters, Violet was the most lively. As the team's diplomat, she was ranked second, and only she dared to tease Bai Hua. The sisters all covered their mouths and snickered. Bai Hua was the model of a virtuous lady and was well-educated and well-mannered. It was rare to see her mock someone like this. From this, it could be seen that Jiu Wui had left a deep impression on her. Bai Hua swept a glance over them, and the sisters immediately returned to being virtuous ladies, displaying the aura of a queen. The youngest, Qingyi, said, "Second sister has hit the nail on the head." Shanghai Village and Lingxi Village both belong to the Supreme Court and will inevitably have dealings with each other in the future. Big sister, can we try to contact Jiu Wui? Even if we can't form an alliance, we can at least show our goodwill. The third sister, Red Eagle, was a militant. When she heard this, she became a little unhappy and mumbled, "Why do we have to show our goodwill? We're not afraid of him. If there really is a conflict, we can guarantee that he will flee in defeat." Qingyi put her hand to her forehead and said helplessly, "Third sister, please don't shout about fighting and killing all day. From the information that Big Sister has obtained, this game is not simple. It might be hiding some great secret. Before the situation is clear, having one more friend is better than having one more enemy." In terms of martial prowess, Red Eagle was not afraid of anyone. But in terms of eloquence, she naturally could not compare to Qingyi, who was known as Little Zhuge. She mumbled, not saying a word. Bai Hua laughed and shook her head. "Qingyi is right. How about this? Let's have second sister contact Jiu Wui and test his attitude first." Violet nodded. She was naturally duty-bound to contact the outside world. Chapter 43. Ouyang Shuo was stunned for a moment when he received Violet's message. Kahi could ignore Dichun and Lord Chuanshin's request for an alliance. However, the Spirit Rhino Village made him feel a little moved. The four female stars of Lingxi Studio didn't have any special background, and the studio's reputation was also recognized in the industry. They were more in line with his conditions for an alliance. Ouyang Shuo immediately sent a messenger pigeon back to Violet, indicating that he could accept the alliance. At 10 in the morning, Fan Zhongyin and Zhao Dexin walked into his office hand in hand. After the two of them sat down, Zhao Dexin took the initiative to speak. "Sir, I'm here to report on the farm allocation plan. That's quite efficient. Tell me, what's your Bureau of Agriculture's plan?" According to the distribution of the 5 types of workers, there are about 180 farmers in the Level 3 village, and there are 2,000 mu of farmland in the territory. Therefore, the Department of Land Reclamation suggested that each person should be allocated 10 mu of farmland, and minors should not participate in the allocation. The remaining 200 mu of farmland will be used as public property to pay for the territory's expenses or to reward meritorious people. Zhao Dexin reported. Ouyang Shuo frowned. He raised his head to look at Fan Zhongyin and asked, "What does the Administrative Bureau think?" Looking at Master's attitude, it seemed that he was not very satisfied with the distribution plan. However, Zhao Dexin had consulted Fan Zhongyin about this plan, and Fan Zhongyin had agreed to it. Therefore, Fan Zhongyin could only bite the bullet and reply, "The Administrative Department has no objections to this distribution plan." Ouyang Shuo sighed. "It seems like you don't have a thorough understanding of the territory's development strategy." Some people's thoughts were still stuck in the farming era. They regarded land as their core asset and were unwilling to let go of it. What is the purpose of this privatization? It's not to divide the land, but to activate the territory's handicrafts and commerce. The territory doesn't need public land, and rewarding meritorious subjects isn't allowed either. The reason why the annexation of land was strictly prohibited was to curb this kind of conservative mentality of stubbornly defending land. All the cultivated farmland had to be distributed to the farmers. These changes in thinking need to start with you. Only when your thinking has changed can you guide the villagers to change their thinking. Fan Zhongyin and Zhao Daxin lowered their heads in shame. Ouyang Shuo eased his tone and continued. I generally agree with the Bureau of Land Reclamation's distribution plan. As for the extra 200 mu of farmland, let's do it this way. Let's increase the number of farmers to 200, and each person will still be allocated 10 mu of farmland. In this way, an ordinary family of 3 could be allocated 20 mu of farmland, which was more reasonable. This way, an ordinary family of 3 can be allocated 20 mu of farmland, which is reasonable. Just like the salt workers, the number of farmers will be determined by the area of the farmland. Zhao Daxin nodded, indicating that he understood. He continued, Master, I have something else to report. In the past 2 days, when I was chatting with the farmers, I found out that everyone had the same concern. After privatization, the farmers would not have any source of income until the potatoes were ripe. Moreover, it's the slack season now. I'm afraid it won't be easy to make a living just by relying on the territory's one-time basic welfare. Ouyang Shuo chuckled. See, there's still an inherent way of thinking causing mischief. The Shan is young, Master. The construction work. During the slack season, the farmers can go to the construction site to help out and help with their family expenses. Zhao Daxin came to a sudden realization. He patted his head and said embarrassedly, Sir is right. It seems like we need to change our mindset. If we can't keep up with the development of the Shan, it will be a great sin. Ouyang Shuo nodded in gratification. The privatization this time isn't as simple as breaking the rules and dividing the family property. More importantly, we need everyone to recognize the magic of the market and stimulate their pioneering spirit. On this point, you must have a correct understanding. Fan Zhongyin said, with a solemn expression, I'm ashamed that I didn't understand Sir's intention as the administrative office's chief. Originally, I wanted to report the privatization plan to my lord, but after my lord's lecture just now, I found that many of the contents of the plan are too conservative and need to be adjusted. Please forgive me and give me 2 more days. Ouyang Shuo said with a smile. Sir, you don't need to blame yourself. It's normal to have a deviation in understanding new things. I have great faith in Sir's abilities. Fan Zhongyin nodded, then stood up and left with Zhao Daxin. Ouyang Shuo went to the barracks at 2 in the afternoon and handed the military code of conduct to Shi Wansui. He also checked on the training of the recruits. Ouyang Shuo was still thinking about the news Shi Wansui told him when he left the barracks. After 2 days of investigation, the cavalrymen finally found traces of the bandit camp. There was a mid-level bandit camp at the Friendship River in the northwest corner of the Shan territory. The mid-level bandit camp usually had 300 people, and combat personnel accounted for more than 60% of them. Compared to the low-level bandit camp, the combat personnel's levels were higher. The ordinary bandits were level 20, the elite bandits were level 25, and the boss was at least level 30. According to Shi Wansui's plan, he wanted to wait for the cavalry platoon to take shape and destroy the bandit camp in one fell swoop. After all, the current situation was different from the past. The current cavalry platoon couldn't be compared to the militia that wiped out the low-level bandit camp. Not only were the soldiers of the cavalry platoon well equipped, but they were also skilled in archery and horsemanship. Moreover, they had experienced the baptism of war. Their individual combat strength had already surpassed the elite bandits. This was especially true for the veterans who had experienced the territory's defense. Most of them had been promoted to rank 4 soldiers, and the bandits couldn't compare to them. Whether it was a frontal attack or a field battle, they had the advantage. This was the gap between the regular army and the unorthodox. Ouyang Shuo agreed with Shi Wansui's judgment. Since they had a strategic advantage, he didn't want to kill them all. He specially instructed Shi Wansui to persuade the bandits to surrender if the conditions allowed. His plan was to select the surrendered bandits and recruit them into the army. As long as they were restrained by strict military discipline, they would be qualified soldiers. When he returned to the Lord's residence, he received an alliance request from Bai Hua. He took out the Lord's handbook from his storage pouch, opened the territory column, and searched for Spirit Rhino Village's Lord Bai Hua. After confirming, an alliance request automatically popped up. He clicked confirm, and an alliance agreement immediately popped up. Ouyang Shuo read it carefully from beginning to end. There were 4 main terms. First, any party who wanted to terminate the alliance had to apply 3 days in advance. The termination request didn't necessarily need the other party's consent and could be unilaterally terminated. Second, both parties could conduct cross-regional trade through the negotiation and cooperation platform of the high-grade market. To encourage free trade between allies, the system reduced the transaction tax by 10%. Third, after the territory was upgraded to a first-class county, both parties could set up teleportation formations between each other. If one party was in trouble, the other party could send reinforcements through the teleportation formation. The teleportation fee was 1 gold coin per person. Fourth, after the opening of battle maps, allies could choose a common party in advance and could even form teams to complete battle missions. After reading the alliance agreement, Ouyang Shuo took out the Lord's seal from his storage pouch and stamped it. At this point, Shanghai Village and Spirit Rhino Village had officially formed an alliance. At the same time, in the Spirit Rhino Village chief's office, the 4 beauties, cyan, red, purple, and white, stared at the alliance agreement that had just been signed on the Lord's handbook. Big sis, don't say Wooey isn't that hard to deal with. He's formed an alliance with us so easily. The most active Violet said first. That's right, that's right. It seems like our big sis's charm is really extraordinary. She easily took down the world's #1 lord, hee. The youngest, Cyan, chimed in. Looks like Big Sis will have another subject under her skirt, the third sister, Red Eagle, teased. Faced with the teasing of his 3 sisters, Bai Hua remained unmoved. He casually stroked his long hair and said indifferently, "For don't say Wooey to have obtained his current achievements. How could he be such a shallow person?" According to our insider reports, he's already tactfully rejected Lord Chuanshin's and Di Qin's requests to form an alliance. It seems like he's plotting something big. Cyane nodded. Big Sis is right. There are only 2 reasons why he's doing this. It's very possible that he's not like the rumors on the internet, that he's a descendant of some secret clan. Instead, he's a commoner player like us. That's why he rejected Lord Chuanshin's offer and chose our Spirit Rhino workshop instead. In addition, his ambitions are as great as Lord Chuanshin's, and he'd rather be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. Red Eagle curled his lips and muttered, "What 4th sister means is that don't say Wooey thinks he can take down our Spirit Rhino Village, and thinks that he's stronger than us." Cyan nodded. "No one knows what will happen in the future. At least, that's the case based on our current strength." Violet giggled and patted the sulking Red Eagle. She laughed. Perhaps it's not as bad as 4th sister thinks. From a way he tactfully rejected Lord Chuanshin and Di Chun, instead of directly rejecting them. It seems like Don't Say Wooey isn't an overly domineering person. From a way he tactfully rejected Lord Chuanshin and Di Chun, rather than directly rejecting them. It seems like Don't Say Wooey isn't an overly domineering person. Forming an alliance with us is more of a win-win situation. Although Cyan was more intelligent than others, when it came to understanding human nature, Violet was still a cut above her. Thus, Cyan nodded her head in agreement with Violet's analysis. Bai Hua gave a gratified smile. Both of your analyses are very reasonable. Regardless of whether or not Don't Say Wooey is a descendant of some secret clan, or whether or not he has any ambitions, from today onwards, he only has one identity, and that is an ally of our Spirit Rhino Village. As for our alliance with the Mountain Sea Village, we'll keep it a secret for now. Only the 4 of us will know about it. If we're too high profile, it'll be easy for others to bear grudges and bring unnecessary trouble. The sisters nodded their heads, indicating that they understood. Ouyang Shuo didn't know that his plans had already been accurately guessed by the other party. He was currently reading a book in his office. Chapter 44. In the next 3 days, the top 10 villages in the China region were all promoted to level 3 villages. A new round of competition had officially begun. The storm caused by Lord Chunshin and Xiongba was still brewing. Just yesterday afternoon, the Handan 6 hegemons officially split into 2 factions. Di Chun, Wolf Warrior, Feng Xiuhuang, and Military Kill Ripper formed a new Handan alliance. The players called them the Handan 4 Heroes, or the Handan 4 Shrimps. Di Chun's reputation suffered a huge blow. Ouyang Shuo was hated by Di Chun for his misfortune. Lord Chunshin successfully roped in Feng Qingyang. Together with Xiongba and Wandering Huan, he formed the Spring and Autumn Alliance. Lord Chunshin successfully gained control of the alliance. Xiongba and Wandering Huan also gained admission to the top level of the game. It was the best of both worlds. Ouyang Shuo was not surprised by Feng Qingyang's involvement. As a descendant of an ancient martial arts family, Feng Qingyang had the least conflicts of interest with the other 5. Naturally, he did not have any burdens. Instead, he was surprised that Military Kill Ripper stayed behind. As a representative of the gray areas, Military Kill Ripper was naturally incompatible with Di Chun and the rest. It seemed that it could only be explained by the fact that Military Kill Ripper and Lord Chunshin had a deep grudge against each other in the game. Xiongba was really scheming this time. He successfully grasped the weakness of the Handan 6 hegemons, stirring up conflict between Lord Chunshin and Di Chun. His previous high profile was just for show. What was even more shocking was that Ouyang Shuo knew that in his previous life, Wandering Huan and Xiongba were staunch allies. This time, Xiongba roped Wandering Huan into the Spring and Autumn Alliance. This was thought-provoking. Perhaps even Lord Chunshin was kept in the dark by him. He really was an old fox. Just like that, on the surface, the era where the Handan 6 hegemons dominated the China region suddenly turned into a rivalry between the Handan Alliance and the Spring and Autumn Alliance. Behind the scenes, Shanghai Village and Lingxi Village formed an alliance, vaguely becoming the 3rd faction to challenge the hegemony. Even Ouyang Shuo, a butterfly flapping its wings, did not expect the changes to happen so quickly and violently. One could only say that ambition was a strange thing. With just a little provocation, it could break out of the ground. Ouyang Shuo was still as low-key as ever, engrossed in the affairs of the territory. He didn't care about Di Chun's grudge at all. He didn't want to get into trouble, but that didn't mean he was afraid of it. The split of the Handan 6 tyrants has ended the dominance of the China region, allowing him to lay out his plans more easily. Unintentionally, Ouyang Shuo had become the biggest beneficiary of this farce. Yesterday, the respawn rate of the refugees had returned to normal. After 5 consecutive days of respawning, Shanghai Village had gained a total of 255 refugees, saving them 12 days to upgrade to a level 1 town. Since a large portion of this group of refugees had drifted out from other player territories, there were a lot of skilled people among them. Not only were there basic carpenters, stonemasons, miners, and masons, there was also an intermediate shipwright and a scholar. The intermediate shipbuilder was called He Miao. He was a 23-year-old young man who had been assigned by Ouyang Shuo to be Zhang Dehai's assistant at the intermediate shipyard. An intermediate shipyard could not only build a medium-sized fishing boat that could accommodate 10 people, but it could also build small warships. It was a pity that the Shanghai Village did not have a navy, so there was no need for warships for now. The high scholar's name was Su Zhe. He was 35 years old and used to be an official. Ouyang Shuo had originally planned to arrange for him to be the director of the logistics department. Unexpectedly, Mr. Su said that he had experienced the ups and downs of officialdom and had no interest in officialdom. Ouyang Shuo had no choice but to arrange for him to be a professor at the Lianzhou College that was under construction. As for the job of teaching and educating people, he gladly accepted it. Name, Suze Gold. Identity, professor at Shanghai Village's Lianzhou College. Occupation, civil official, high scholar, loyalty, 75 commander, 25 martial strength, 15 intelligence, 55 politics, 65 specialty. Teaching increases the quality of the residents of the territory by 10 points. Remarks, rarely famous for poetry, well read, and successful in the imperial examinations. The ups and downs of officialdom and an epiphany. With the addition of Suzhou and the Lianzhou College that was under construction, Shanghai Village's cultural index immediately jumped to 30 points, meeting the minimum requirement to upgrade to a level 1 town. Actually, with Fan Zhongyan's literary reputation, he could have directly pushed the Shanghai Village's cultural index to 30 points. Unfortunately, Fan Zhongyan was in an administrative position. Even though he was the dean of the Lianzhou College, it was only a part-time job. Therefore, the promotion of the territory's culture would be greatly reduced. On the contrary, Su Zhe joining the Lianzhou College as a professor would have a greater effect on the territory's culture. Now, among the 4 indexes, only the economic index had not reached the target. With the gradual privatization, Ouyang Shuo believed that it was only a matter of time before the economic index reached 30 points. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Ouyang Shuo was in his office, discussing the plan for the purchase and sale of supplies with Fan Zhongyan, Zhao Duong, and Zhao Yufang. As the deputy director of the Material Reserve Department, Zhao Yufang said, "In the next 3 months, supplies such as food and cloth can only be purchased through the primary market." The Material Reserve Department's opinion is that the main living supplies at this stage will be purchased and sold by the Material Reserve Department. When the territory is self-sufficient, the market will be completely opened. Ouyang Shuo nodded. In this case, not only the grain, meat, and cloth stores that have already been built, but also the supporting warehouses. In addition, have the staff of the grain, meat, and cloth stores been trained? The Material Reserve Department will directly assign the shopkeepers of the 3 stores. As for the rest of the general staff, we plan to recruit from the villagers, Zhao Yufang replied. At least you have some sense. You didn't assign all the staff to the Material Reserve Department. I don't want these stores to become the departments of the officials. The shopkeepers, you must keep a close eye on them. If there is any embezzlement, I will hold you responsible. Once the privatization was achieved, some ugly phenomena would easily take root under the drive of profits. Ouyang Shuo had to be prepared, especially for a department like the Material Reserve Department, where there was plenty of oil and water. It was the easiest for such phenomena to occur. Zhao Yufang nodded vigorously and made a military pledge. In addition, other supplies cannot be self-sufficient for the time being, but fish can. Regarding this, how did the Material Reserve Department consider it? Is it a complete monopoly of purchase and sale? Ouyang Shuo did not agree with the monopoly of purchase and sale. It was too rigid. Hearing the strangeness in Zhao Yufang's words, Zhao Yufang was nervous, wondering if Zhao Yufang was dissatisfied with his work. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer. Fortunately, Fan Zhongyan helped him out and said with a smile, "At this stage, the quantity of fish sold in the domestic market will not be too much, mainly for export. In my opinion, there is no need to build a market just for the fishermen. We might as well set up 2 or 3 specialized fish stalls in the meat shops and rent them to the fishermen. This will make it convenient for the fishermen to sell their fish and also convenient for the financial secretary to collect the stall tax. Sir's idea is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Very good, I agree." Ouyang Shuo smiled and eased the atmosphere. He turned to Zhao Duong and said, "Has the construction department confirmed the prices of the various properties?" "Yes. Yesterday afternoon, according to the salary guidelines passed by the administration office and the financial secretary, the construction department has already set the prices of the various properties. We are waiting for Sir to approve it before officially announcing it to the public," Zhao Duong replied cautiously. Hearing Zhao Duong mention the salary guidelines, Ouyang Shuo unconsciously smiled. In the past few days, for the sake of this guiding opinion and another guiding opinion on the price level, the administration office had wrangled a lot with the financial secretary. When Fan Zhongyan passed the first draft of the 2 guidelines to the financial secretary for review, Cui Yingyu directly rejected it on the grounds that the salary level was too high and the price level was too low, making Fan Zhongyan unbearably angry. These two people, one was the chief of the administration office who worried about the country and the people, always thinking of the common people, and the other was the chief of the financial secretary who was meticulous, always guarding the territory's purse, were innately at odds with each other. In the end, there was no other way, and it was brought to Ouyang Shuo. This time, Ouyang Shuo firmly stood on Cui Yingyu's side and rejected the first two drafts of the administration office. The guidelines formulated by Fan Zhongyan were indeed a bit unreasonable. If they were to really implement it, it wouldn't be long before Ouyang Shuo would have to starve to death. He couldn't help but mutter, "This old man's concern for the country and the people should have a limit, right? He's completely treating the common people as treasures and me, the Lord, as grass." For the first time, Ouyang Shuo lost his temper and took back the authority of the administration office to set the price level and the salary level. He requested that the administration office and the financial secretary discuss it and settle the storm. Through this probe, Fan Zhongyan also realized that Ouyang Shuo wasn't the well-behaved child that he had shown when they first met. No matter what kind of talent you were, you wouldn't be allowed to act recklessly and display your ideals and ambitions. In the end, Shanghai Village was still Ouyang Shuo's private territory, not some utopia. Idealism wouldn't work here. Seeing Ouyang Shuo's thoughtful expression, Fan Zhongyan was a bit embarrassed. Ouyang Shuo realized that he had lost his composure and smiled apologetically at Fan Zhongyan. In any case, he still respected this important minister more than he studied him. As long as they got to know each other's bottom line, they would be able to resume the path of a ruler and minister. Ouyang Shuo turned his head to look at Zhao Duong and said with a smile, "Very good. Your efficiency is quite high." Announcing the property price earlier can also reduce the suspicion of the villagers and give everyone a peace of mind. Zhao Duong smiled honestly and didn't say anything. He was obviously very happy with Ouyang Shuo's affirmation. On the contrary, Zhao Yufeng, who was at the side, had a heavy heart and hadn't recovered from Ouyang Shuo's criticism. When the meeting was over, Ouyang Shuo specially patted Zhao Yufeng's shoulder to show encouragement. He still couldn't bear to neglect this beloved general of his. Although the matter this time wasn't to his liking, he still had to give him a chance to temper himself. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.